Hello everyone, welcome back to another Tomato Sauce stream today. Oh, we have so much to talk about. There have been so many reveals and a couple of leaks, and we have the new OCG mechanic that everyone's been talking about. It's quite an exciting time, really, to be Rush players. So, I think we'll just kind of jump straight in, and I guess before we actually do that, we'll probably just say hello to everyone in the chat, because that's generally how we start these streams. So let's start off with that. So first in the chat was Ursus. Welcome on in, my friend. We have Gunkin Suship Shari. Star Replace was interesting, a Karibot-like effect that's more can use any low level, more flexible. Yeah, I mean, it is pretty good. It's quite, I don't want to say it's like a super recent card, but it's like the last year sort of thing came out. It's a Go Rush card, let's put it that way. We have Ray in the chat. Hello, hello. The moment I've been waiting for, my favorite fruit yapping about my favorite card game. I mean, what more can we ask for, really? We have Darth Victor. I found a deck that has to play the Crisis Trap. It would be a funny situation. We have Dragson with the 50 stream streak. The man, the myth, and the legend. It will never stop. So we talk about Sidro. We have Luis Fernando. Pot of Avarice would be the next legend magic card in the game. Yes! Very exciting stuff. Avarice is a really cool card. But we don't have Potter yet. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But it'll be interesting to see if we do eventually get Potter. And if we do, it will obviously be like a bundle card, or it'll be limit 1 or something along those lines. Replace the Tribute to the Doomed. It'll depend, really. It'll come down to, does your deck need Tribute to the Doomed? Does Tribute to the Doomed do what your deck really wants to be doing? Because Tribute to the Doomed is a -2, effectively. Like, you -2 yourself to -1 your opponent. So it's a -1 in, like, card advantage, but it's a -2 in card economy. But you do deal with specific threats. Whereas Avarice is always obviously a +2 or a +1 because you get rid of the card itself. So it's like, do you -1 or do you +1? And it depends if you need to, right? That's what it basically is going to come down to. We have Giorfio. It's Rush Sesso time. Always Rush Sesso time. If you can't guarantee the Sea Reincarnation. We have Kuova. Morning, everyone. Leak stream hype. Welcome, welcome. Speedroid support. I don't know if that Clear Wing was meant to be Odd Eyes, because it doesn't. Yeah, I looked at it. I'm not... We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. We'll see what anyone could cook up with it. Maybe it's for Wind Witch? If Avarice was 5 cards, I could see it in a Mataran Shuffle TCB and Starry Start back, but it's 5 monsters. Oh, yeah. There are very limited ways to put spells or traps back in your deck. We do already have a few of them, but they are still very limited, even now in the OCG. Speedroids suck. Rip Speedroids just getting torn into there. We have Toti. Speedroid support next. Maybe. Good afternoon, Tomato. Good afternoon, Victor. Big Rush day. Did you see the translation about the mechanic before I talk about that? The translation about the mechanic. What, you mean the word disco? Is that what we're talking about? Because I saw that. Worm's best deck? Worm's best deck. True. Worm says so. Hello. Is that Tim Bob won the real? Welcome on in. We have Dwan on the 15 stream streak. Hello. And Corey is also here. Hello. And Zach's here as well. Hikari's here. Everyone's here, guys. Everyone's here. Big Man Neo's also here. We have, hey, Worm best deck. Hello. Oof. Bunch of stuff again. Trait's gonna take ages to get everything. Traits? I've no idea. Hello, British Yapping Man. Hello. Here to play Psychic again. The new Psychic stuff does look cool. I hope it ends up being good. But I'm a bit worried the skill is too fair. And they've got another limit 3. So, like, who knows? Not the part I was referring to. Chameleon. What we talked about is effect. Yeah, I'm not going to put too much stock into that. I still think it is going to be from extra. I think if it was... I mean, never say never, right? I think it's like 99% for extra and like maybe like 1% elsewhere. That's kind of how I'm looking at it right now. We'll find out shortly, right? It's like less than... like, what, 5 days we'll find out, so... we all love British guy that knows everything. I wish I knew everything. I don't even know everything about Rush, right? Let alone everything. It's going to take ages to get all the new cards again. I see. Did you actually finish getting all the cards, Corey? Are you still chewing through the Galaxy box? I think old Psychics are better. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. The old skill is, like, actually insane. Like, you look at that skill even now, and it is actually broken. Like, just a skill. If we take away all the other cards, and we just said, right, this is a generic skill that anyone could use, it's so busted, right? It's like a +2, it lets you search your boss, or a card that gives you 1500 boost and effectively gets a boss out easier. Then you get, like, the added benefit of if you get, is it Reedy? I'm forgetting what their names are. You get the one which bounces face-down cards, and your life points are lower. You can then get back the Can D again, which is also insane value, because that's just an extra +1. Like, it's so nutty. It's so nutty. I've lost track of the chat now. Yeah, another limit 3 wasn't really necessary, Konami. I think they want to try and separate old psychics from new psychics, is what they're trying to do with that. They're like, this is the fusion psychics, this is the not fusion psychics, but we'll see how it actually plays out. I mean, Psychic was only add fusion once per duel, which is cringe. I mean, it's basically the same as the Cyber Dragon fusion skill. So it's kind of the same as just playing Cyber Dragons, but you're playing with Psychics. And the what's it called? Candy or Red? The fusion, the new Candy fusion is quite easy to get out, all things considered. You don't need a double tribute monster, so it's going to be cheaper to get out than a lot of other cards anyway. So if you squint at it, it's maybe not too bad. I guess we're going to have to run Restart. I mean, possibly. I don't think you necessarily have to, but it is there as an option. Because I think if we were playing if we had the other fusions, the Prima fusions, I would almost say that Star Restart is almost a must. Because the skill dumps to grave is the issue. It doesn't search. So I think you actually probably have to run Star Restart just for that fact alone. If the skill added to hand, you probably wouldn't have to. But since it just sends to grave, I think you have to, yeah. I'm on my second run through Old Go Rush. Everything else is done. Nice, nice, nice. Just play Star Restart. Should add before he plays the spell. Yeah. Worms look really close. Couple of cards I wish they'd gotten, like Gantry and Dragline. I mean, Dragline was probably never coming. That was a little bit cope, but I really would have liked to see it. Gantry is so... Like, I want Gantry, but I think unless they got a new skill that gave them piercing, or either that, you just have to keep using the old skill and just, like, not play the max. It's a weird one. It's a weird one. Definitely a weird one. Maybe just 3 fusion, I don't know. I mean, possibly. They hate Magical Miracle. Yeah. I mean, yeah. The thing with Psychics is that Roman didn't play fusion that much. She fused, what, 3 times? I honestly couldn't tell you. I've only watched through 7s once, and it was, you know, when it was airing. So it's been several years for me. But I do remember her versus, what was it, Miss G? Whatever her name was. Like her mentor figure. I remember that duel. I remember... Was it against... I'm trying to remember who she fused Candy live against, but I cannot actually remember. I don't think it was Yuka. It was... I legit cannot remember. I legit just cannot remember. Sidra boost the monsters too. That is very true. That is very, very true. Sidra also lets you search the fusion material rather than dump it to the graveyard. She also use more fusions that Luke. With Restart, you can revive Candy too. Very true. Where did he need more? Finally, after 4 mini boxes and 2 super mini boxes, Thunder is back on the menu. I'm a little bit disappointed by the Thunder stuff. The Thunder fusions, very unremarkable. Now, I always knew they were going to, but there are some good Thunder cards that we still haven't got. Like, there aren't that many. I don't want to, like, oversell them. But there are still some good Thunder cards we still don't have access to. So it'll be interesting to see if we do get those in the future. I mean, the big one's obviously going to be the Creator, but that's a Legend card. And so unless you lock people out of playing specific Legends or, like, out of Thunder, that could just be used by anyone. It's a 3000 defense, but we already have Ancient Gear Golem, so that shouldn't really matter. But being able to discard a card and special summon from the graveyard can be really, really good. If you think about a good stuff pile deck, like, you could bring back, like, Mirror Innovator or something. I don't know if that'd be better than just playing Golem itself. Golem is pretty damn good and doesn't need any setup at all, so... Psychic... is going to use 1 fusion, 3-star restart. Ooh, I mean, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if people ran 2 fusion, similarly to how Cyber Dragon does. Maybe like a 2-2 split could work. But you're always going to be able to search the fusion anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter, because you search your 1 fusion, as long as you don't shuffle it back into your deck, which you shouldn't be doing, you'll be fine either way, right? Technically, Luke has 3. Princess G, that's it. Princess G. Princess G. Who doesn't love Princess G? First, hello, Grand Harrier. Welcome on in. I managed to watch a bunch of the... Was it the Meta Weekly yesterday? I really think... And this is going to sound weird. I think Blue Eyes looks really cool right now. Which is something I didn't think I'd say. I think in speed, I really do like the way Blue Eyes is looking right now. Oh, man, I have been, as well, the last few days. So yesterday was basically a reset day for me. Yesterday, I did the absolute bare minimum required of me, because my Sunday was actually insane. I was working pretty much non-stop all Sunday. I was on my feet most of the day. Then I managed to record, edit a video, and chuck that out during all of that as well. So I was, on Sunday, completely shattered. I was just dead to the world. But yesterday, we did the bare minimum. We had a reset day, basically. We got to rest a lot. We had a great time. Then we played in Mono's custom banlist tournament in the evening, which was a bit of fun. We did enjoy that. It didn't go quite how we wanted it to, because there was still a lot of Metarian in the Metarian band tournament, which was a bit of a shame. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. She only fuses against 2 peoples, Princess G and Mimi. Oh, God, I can't remember the Mimi duel. Roman summoned Candy live against Mimi. I do not remember her dueling against Mimi. The last Mimi duel I remember was Mimi versus Swirly, which I don't even know if we count that as a real duel. That particular match was a bad example, but the Team Wars one was good. Yeah, I did see the Team Wars one. Have we yapped about the cards yet? No. We're still doing the introduction to the stream. We're still doing the yapping with the chat right now. Any thoughts on Ants about to become tier 1? Ants are basically noodles, but bad. And that is such a shame to me. So, theoretically, it requires less setup. But in the same way that, like, old noodles, where, you know, just using spice and just pumping your whole board, maybe using Ninja Art of Roastery, all of that stuff, the way that was bad, because we had Negate Attack, there's Widespread Ruin, there's Slime. This is going to be the same, right? It loses to the same shit. So, unfortunately, as much as I would love insects to do really well, I don't really see it. Which is very disappointing to say. It's a little bit depressing. It was a filler episode anyways. I mean, is there such thing as a filler episode, right, in Rush? Some would argue most of Rush is filler. I would argue all of Rush is great. That's what I'm going to go with. We didn't get the ant traps, so nah. I mean, even if we got the ant traps, they only pop 8 and lower. So most fusion decks still wouldn't give a shit anyway. So Mimi duels Roman, trying to make Mimi eat her curry. Of course it was. Of course it was. So this would have been when they were working at Goha, right? When Yuga was working with the siblings, and they thought he might have been their, like, 7th sibling. Because I remember her making the curry in the Goha cafeteria. I just don't remember the duel. And it's got too few cards. I mean, yeah. And we've even got some, like, leaked insect cards. And still, I'm like, there still isn't a deck. We still need so much more than this. No trap equals revolution has been cancelled. Yeah, it's just the ants hanging out instead. I don't think you can call Roman versus Mimi's episode a filler, because the most of that arc would be filler. I mean, yeah. That's when they were working there. It was no joke, that episode you were talking about. There we go. There we go. All right. Let us hop in. Let's hop in. Let's hop into. Should we have the chat on for this? We can put the chat on. It's just it'll cover some of the screen. We might flick it on and off. We also have to move this a little bit. So if I put it up to here, There, we could... yeah, I don't know if that looks a bit crap there. That's fine. We'll leave it like that for now. We might turn it off again in a minute. So. We have lots of new updates. Actually, I think we'll start off with speed. We'll start off with speed because there is tier list update, and I do quite like... we're just going to, we're not going to read through everything. We're just going to, touch on the tier list update, because I always do find it really interesting looking at the tier list updates. So this is the first thing. No tier 1 decks. I have always been very outspoken. I don't like it when we do no tier 1. Like, I get it. I understand the logic behind it. I just don't think it matters. To me, this is now tier 1. This is tier 2. And this is potentially tier 3. That's how I now just see this. So, like, I don't know. Having an empty tier 1, I feel like, doesn't mean anything. But the 2 best decks receiving pretty big nerfs is not really a strategy that dominates over every other one. A lot of games are now decided by how hard drawing the right decks against the right matchups, which makes it pretty hard to claim a deck to be tier 1. On top of that, Fleur decks will mostly be underrepresented until the skill changes are implemented in-game. I think that's fair enough. The most recent ban list has effectively lowered the power level of the top decks. As for now, there is no clear dominant deck. However, I believe this could change once skill updates go into effect and Fleur becomes legal in tournament play. I'm interested to see what actually happens with Fleur. But most importantly, Ghost Trick went up, Lyrilisk went down, Predaplant went down, Star Seraph went up. Star Seraph is kind of the weird one here. These 3 were always, doing really, really well. I would make the argument it was, these 3 in Shadow were, the ones I kept seeing. Well, I suppose I'm Fleur, right? I haven't even seen much Dark Fluid going around, so that's an interesting one for me. The Star Seraph is the weird one that's shown up here. Dark Fluid's come up to tier 3, so, I mean, I know this is Dwan's baby, so I know Dwan loves it. The issue is, I think Infernoble is going to be tier 1, but they are banned right now. It's a pretty unique situation. I mean, that's absolutely fair enough. I'm surprised you didn't write that. Well, I suppose it could be written down here. But there's no, comment saying that anywhere. One of the biggest issues Infernoble Fleur faced previously was its weakness to Book of Eclipse and Forbidden Droplet. However, the deck can now end on Herald of the Arclight, which can negate these cards unless the opponent sends a monster from field or Droplet. It should have a strong matchup against Ghost Trick, Sky Striker, and Shadow with Gravity Axe Graal. I still hate this card. I get it. It's it's a funny, cute little thing where you get to use this obscure equipped spell to lock people down, but a Floodgate is a Floodgate, right? I said it in the first comment. Oh, I just called it Fleur decks. Right. That's the thing as well. Whenever it's Fleur decks, in my head, I always autocorrect it to Infernoble, but I didn't when I saw it here. Because I do think that Infernoble is the best Fleur deck, right? I think this just is. I don't even know what the quote-unquote generic Fleur list looks like. So this is the Dogmatica Fleur, which I suppose is just naked Fleur. Yeah, overall, this is pretty much what I would expect. Sky Striker just always hanging in there. I feel like Sky Striker in tier 3 is now the it's the new Boral deck, where it's just always there. It's the new Rocket deck. It's just not going anywhere. It'll just sit there doing its own thing. Don't worry about it. The song is just perfect. Yeah, in Bird's Meta, the Hand Trap Fleur was better. I mean, that does make sense. I feel like this deck though is always Infernobles always has a couple of champions, right? There's always a couple of people in the community that just bring this to anything and always make it work. Even if it doesn't win, it always seems to at least perform well. Right now, hand traps are kind of ass. Trying to think why that might be. So we don't need a lot of graveyard disruption at the moment in this meta. I mean, there will still be use for it somewhere. There's a lot of face down cards, but I don't think that really matters for Veiler. I suppose there's just nothing that a single negate is going to stop, especially a negate that doesn't destroy. Infernoble is the best Fleur deck with an actual engine. I mean, Veiler is still decent. I'm trying to well, I mean, Veiler's never going to be bad, but I think Veiler is better when it stops an extender, right? When it ends the turn. Because if you can Veiler and stop your opponent's turn, that's just insane. But if you Veiler and then they just link off, go into something else or whatever. But I think it's one of those things, Veiler will never be bad. It will just be a lot worse than against X deck, right? That's how I look at it anyway. But yeah, that's kind of speed. That was our little touch on speed. We wanted to talk about it because, again, we do like seeing it. I mean, yeah, it's just Nib sucks versus Seraph. I barely even actually see anyone play Nib ever anyway. So, I think Sky Striker was playing it a little bit. Retaliating Sea only hits one deck, and Crow doesn't do enough against most decks. I think that is a fair statement. All right. Let's have a look. UTS on the hunt, finding Zavijo. So, drop rewards. We have some Is this interesting? We have... Right, so we have Elysium. Elysium is like... It's kind of whatever. Like... I don't know. Send a card from your hand to the graveyard is the part of this effect I don't like, right? Having to send cards from your hand is not really something you want to be doing. Then we change a face-up monster to face-down defense. Now, this is a benefit. You can use this on fusion monsters, so that's actually okay. And we can use this to attack over something we otherwise couldn't. Now, the only issue with that is this card gains 500 attack when it does that. So, you now need to find a monster that you can beat over with 3,000 attack that you couldn't beat over while it was in attack mode, but you can now beat over while it's in defense mode. So it's like... technically this, it's only 2 drops. I mean, we're going to talk about the other card anyway because it's here. Harvey's husband. The skill doesn't let us play Harvey. No, I'd Hammer Crush deal. Because the third one is confirmed to be level up reward. I mean, that's fine. That's fine. Level up rewards drop from the gate anyway, so it's still technically going to be a drop, right? So... This card really shines against what? Cyber End Dragon, because that's got 2,800 defense and 4,000 attack. It will shine against Dragia Star, because that's got 2,000 defense and 3,000 attack, so you wouldn't have to crash with it. Other than that, it's going to be like, do you have anything else that you can gain from it? So like if you had Piercing... Right, obviously flipping something over does make it pretty good. So, like... Terrera, but going -3. So, to be fair, you do get to keep a 2,500 body. So that is at least something, right? Having a 2,500 body is not crap. And just having big guys on the field is okay because... It means that if you go against, like, Light Galaxy, they won't get to punish you super hard for, like, having weak-statted guys. Whereas Siesta Terrera is, like, a Light Galaxy magnet of, I'll just change the defense and basically attack you directly. It can beat most of big guys. I mean, yeah, but the thing is, I'm trying to work out why most of the time you'd want to use the effect to change a monster to face-down defense. A lot of the time, you won't really give a shit. Now, one good opportunity for this would be the... Yami Tarasu, if you want to get out of fusion. But because we don't have any of the Dark Galaxy fusions right now, that also doesn't really matter. So it's like, yeah. Long set monster. Counters Miss Mutton. Kinda. I don't know. I think this card is like... If we get to a point where Trap Destruction is very relevant, the third part of this effect can be pretty good. I think the first part of the effect is probably the worst, but does have some niche cases, because a lot of the time you'll just be guaranteeing you're getting less damage in. And we can't get that attack boost unless we do change a face-up monster in the opponent's field to face-down defense position. So, like, it's awkward. It's very awkward. Set Cyber End. I mean, that's basically what we were talking about earlier, Toti. But yeah, if we could set Cyber End... really good. If we set Dragia Star, really good. If we're not doing basically those things, Yeah, but it only gets the 500 if we change a monster face down. So if your opponent just sets 3, we can't even, like, do anything with that. And the biggest turn-off for me about this card is just the discarding a card from your hand. If we didn't have to discard a card, I'll be fine with this. In early Rush duels, discarding was okay because it's like, oh, I've bricked, I'll just empty my hand of boss monsters. That shouldn't happen as much in, like, the modern Rush game. So it's like, so we'll talk about the next one. Star Transfer. So this is a card that a lot of people were excited for. It's a little bit awkward because it's level 6, which does have its own problems, because now it's like, how do you want to ratio out your deck in such a way where you don't brick? Because even if we play, let's say, like 3 Requiem, 3 of this, that's already 6 bosses. And the only decks playing 6 boss monsters right now are going to be like Blue Eyes, because the skill needs you to, and then like the Machine Good Stuff list. And that's because that deck will constantly recycle cards and constantly go through. So it kind of gets away with it a little bit. But playing 6 boss monsters is already quite a lot. So we can send this face-up card from your field to the graveyard. Special summon a Galaxy-type monster from your hand. So that's fine. We'd summon out like Elysium, or we'd summon out Requiem. And basically, it hasn't cost us anything extra, right? Because we just normal summon 1, tribute for Star Transfer, send that summon. That's the exact same as normal summon, tribute, right? So that's fine. Card economy-wise, that's fine. If we summon the level 8, which it's almost always going to be, I think there's like Hecaton Chair is the only like non-level 8 for this archetype. It'll gain 400 attack. Okay, that's good. Attacks defense position monster, inflicts piercing damage. Okay, that's good. So 2 really good effects. It's just you have to play the brick tax. Sometimes you will just open a hand of like Star Transfer, Star Transfer, Star Transfer, Requiem spell, and then you'll be like, oh, I guess I don't play the game, right? Flip Abyss Poseidra face down. I mean, exactly. Just keep flipping Abyss Poseidra face down. That'll do it. It kind of acts like a slow... Oh, okay. It kind of acts as a low level, though. It's like a Monarch into a bigger Monarch, but worse. Yes. And like, that's what I would say. Like, card economy-wise, it's completely fine. Card economy-wise, it's not great, but like it's fine. It's perfect. And it gives us 400 attack, gives us the piercing, both really good effects. It's just the downside is sometimes you have to pay the Monarch tax. Who here hasn't played Monarchs and had a couple brick games because the hand's just full of Monarchs and you just can't do anything? Unfortunately, Star Transfer will sometimes do that. Now, you could make the argument that you had that in like 7's Axel Road, right? Especially back in the day, because you had to play a bunch of level 6s to get everything going. And, sometimes it works out fine, but just occasionally you'll just have a game where you just get screwed. Choose my game mat. You really want to choose a game mat right now, Ray? Is that where we're at? Okay, I'll tell you, we'll let you choose it. Buy me the live twin mat. We're not doing that. But you can have a different mat if you want. Bearing in mind, I think you were the person who chose our current mat. So here we go. Do you want to change this? Or do you want to leave us with the fusion mat? The choice is yours, Ray. The choice is yours. We just got a bunch of crap. We don't have all of them. We just have what we have. Show me your mats. Right, we have so many mats. We can't, like, spend 10 minutes picking a mat. You're just gonna have to pick one. Look at all my beautiful mats. 0 from the shop, because we don't roll that way. Have you seen the Zuijo mats? I have seen one. The Excavator map. Okay, that is... what? Is that a vent, or is that... There was a thingy event, so I don't know if it's going to have its own map or it's just going to be in here. Probably in here, right? Because it's a boss monster, this one. Okay, there we go. Mat is saved. All decks, save, and back to the reveals. Let's go. I like how you talk about us getting to a point where we worry about traps with destruction effects because that would require Konami to release any traps at all. Listen, right? They are just about to release a new mini box, and in that box they have included a trap card, right? And to go along with that, we're also getting a bundle giving us another trap card, and both are limited 1, so we can't play them together. Now, some might say that means we're basically getting nothing. Based worm, missions. It matches with the sleeves too. I gotta run. Have a good one. See you, Victor. Thanks for stopping by. I wished it was a speed mini, lol. I mean, I don't know. We should be getting more speed content like soon-ish, right? Just not like immediately. One new trap. I mean, basically. So the other card doesn't really matter. It's a 1500 vanilla. Dimension Azarath is Azarth. I think I preferred its other name of just Dimension Others, but yeah, it is what it is. And the rest of that doesn't really matter. It's just some crap. The interesting part here is that we do... Let me refresh this. Did we actually find out the last 2 cards are? Because people have been like piecing together his like level 40 deck. There's some interesting stuff in here. Like, for example, he's playing Dark Prophet. I'll tell you, we'll turn off the chat again, because again, it becomes a bit hard to see sometimes. Dark Prophet. This is a really, really good card, but he's not playing Fusion, so I don't know why it's in his deck. It could have just been anything, but they decided to put Dark Prophet in. At least it's a good new trap. I mean, which one? There's 2. A good replace for Slime. Dark Galaxy look mid. I mean, it does kind of. Especially versus Light Galaxy. Since the Tawny ratios are 90% Natari and 10% other, Especially versus Worm actually build dragon effect. Flip both. Devastated. I mean, yeah, it can be really good in some matchups. It's going to depend, right? Because the big problem with the new trap is that it's only a special summon from hand or graveyard. I mean, we'll talk about it in a minute. But yeah, there's some interesting stuff in here. So... Wait, where is it? Did we not open it? Did I not find the new... Or did I just not have it? Is it in leaks? No. Where's the new bundles? Why haven't I got the new bundles open? There we go. There we go. Here is the 2 new cards. All right, so we'll talk about the trap card first, since we just talked about it anyway. Rice Terrace Crisis. When your opponent special summons, so not normal summon, a monster from the hand or graveyard. So not from... I mean, the deck is sort of irrelevant, but not from the extra deck. So this does not work when your opponent fusion summons. So it's pretty... That is the major issue with this card. Oh, we've got a bot. It's been a while since we've had a bot. Let's deny that message and ban that. But it is... So this card is good, right? In certain situations, this card is really good. Unfortunately, what we've been asking for is a way to not die to Matari and Ashura Star. This does not do that. So you can use this, I mean, like Dwan's saying, you can use this against Star Restart, right? So if your opponent Star Restarts and then goes for a fusion off that, we can flip the material down. If we flip the correct one, then we could stop a fusion summon. That's kind of the best you're going to get with this. If your opponent summons out a fusion monster and then uses Star Restart to try and make a second one, we could, for example, flip down... I don't know, let's say your opponent has Actor on the field or brings back Actor with Star Restart. We could flip down the Actor and flip down the fusion monster they've already made. And, like, that kind of does it. But, like, that's, like, the God scenario. So, like, ugh. Get this card out of my sight. I mean, the card's fine. It's just not what we want, right? It punishes overextending, so I like it. It does, but only specific overextending, right? So, for example, if you're... I mean, this card is good against Secret Order. This card is good against, like, Cyber Dragon. This can be pretty good against Cyber Dragon. Because at the very least, if you flip down a Cyber Dragon, then your opponent can't discount their, like, Cyber Assaults or anything. They can't fuse with that Cyber Dragon because it's now face down. You can punish Matarian that are playing badly. I don't know. It's a weird one. I feel like most of the time, the major issue with this card is a lot of decks can just play around it. That is always going to be the biggest problem with it. Now, if your Matarian opponent has drawn very badly and they have to use Star Restart to get anything going whatsoever, sure, this could buy you a turn. It's great. But the monsters do go face down, so unless, again, we have Piercing or a way to remove their cards, they could still probably just set 3 and just wait until next turn and try and kill you then. So, like... Can't they punish Star Restart? So you can, but it comes down to a lot of different factors, right? It comes down to sequencing. It comes down to when are you going to use it versus when is it going to matter. If you Star Restart one card back as the first thing you do, then your opponent can only flip down one card. That might stop you from comboing off, or you might just have other material in your hand and just get to do it anyway. It will really punish a deck like Join Tech. Trying to think now, what does Join Tech do where they special summon from hand or graveyard? Does Join Tech special summon at all? I legit can't remember. I don't think they do. I can't think of a reason why Join Tech would special summon. This also makes Harvey better. I mean, yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. This does immediately work with Harvey. It's like bad Book of Moon. It's what can be best described as better than nothing. I mean, basically, this plus Ancient Gear could be a nice combo. I mean, yeah. That's what I mean. The card isn't bad. It's just a little bit situational. I think if you know for a fact you're going to be playing against exactly like Galaxy, Matari, and Cyber Dragon, you probably play this. So like I could see this seeing some play in GRF, but if you're playing like just ladder, I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of matchups that just doesn't do anything. Now, how often are you gonna go find those matchups? Maybe. I think I'm gonna have to touch this card. I'm gonna have to play with it, test with it, because this did actually see some play in the OCG as a side deck card. There were some specific decks this was really, really good against. And I think that's kind of where it's going to sit as well, is there will be some situations where it's really good. Oh, wait, I'm thinking of the trap that punishes normal summon high level. Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that one in a minute. That's from the actual box. Never give up. It counters light machines. The innovator reign is over. Ladder is full of Cyber Dragons, so it should be fine. I mean, yeah. Potentially. It's just like every now and then you'll just run into like those, especially if you get to Cog. I don't know what Cog's like. I know the run up to Cog. It's just all Sidras. I don't know if Cog is also just all Sidras. And we got the announcement of the new OCG structure deck, Cyber Dragon and Harpy. I see connections. I mean, possibly. I don't know. You contribute Assault over a set Sidra? You can't. There has to be face up on the field in order to get the effect of Assault to discount it. So, that's kind of it for Terrace Crisis. I think a lot of people are writing this card off immediately. I think this card is actually pretty good. Will this card be a staple that you will see in every single deck? I think that's still to be decided. I think there is a possibility. Then we come over to Avarice. Avarice. I still remember when Avarice came out back in, was it Elemental Energy? Back in the TCG? And everyone went nuts for this card. They were like, oh my god, it's the new Pot of Greed. And to be fair, it did really, really well. I remember piloting many a speed deck that played Pot of Avarice because it was just that strong. In Rush, this is still very strong. Putting back 5 monsters can be very, very strong. Now, it's not always going to be very, very strong. Sometimes you're going to want specific cards in your graveyard. Sometimes you'll be forced to put them back in. But in general, decks tend to mill quite a lot. So putting cards back into the deck is really, really good. And then we just get to draw 2. Now, you are increasing the odds that one of the cards you draw is one of the 5 cards you put back, which might not always be the best case because a lot of the time you're looking for like spells and traps. But draw 2 is still always going to be really, really strong. When it's face down, the name side doesn't exist on the card. I think it's a good card that will be used often, to be honest. I mean, we'll have to wait and see, really. I think the problem is the fact that we're so desperate for any goddamn trap whatsoever. Getting these limited to one super niche and situational trap is infuriating. We've spoken about this a little bit before. The issue is with rush traps is either they are very specific and like type specific. So it's like, oh, this would be really good, but only machines can use it. Or this is really good, but only beast warriors can use it. And the more generic cards are either really, really good or just like a little bit too strong. So like the ones that I always see talked about, Shiny Shady. This is a modern card that sees play to this day. This card, if it came out as a limit 1, would be in every single deck because it's just that good, right? When your opponent normal or special summons a monster during their turn, send a card from your hand to the graveyard. Obviously, you don't want to be sending a card from your hand to the graveyard, but it's kind of what balances this card. Change up to 2 face-up effect monsters on the field to face-down defense position, so this will not stop, like, Galaxy, for example, right? Then if you change the monster on your opponent's field with 2600 or more original attack, the rest of that doesn't really matter. We don't really care about the life points, but just being able to basically, your opponent, like, slams down Matari and Ashura Star, you go Shady, it's face down. That's fantastic. That would be amazing right now. The problem is, again, this card is so good, it would never not see play, right? We would literally have to get to the point where they're limit oneing a load of other cards to try and get you off of Shady, or what, we just wait until the game catches up to Modern, and then eventually this card gets power crept. So, like, that's the problem. Then some of the weaker cards, there's Crisis at the Sacred Tower. So this one, when your opponent normal summons a level 7 or higher monster, change 1 face-up level 8 or lower effect monster on your opponent's field to face-down defense position. Now, this should be quite obvious. Your opponent has to normal summon a level 7 or higher, so again, this wouldn't actually work against Matarian, but this is just an example of a generic trap card that could come out as like a limit 1 bundle, right? But then we get to change a level 8 or lower, so again, this still doesn't work against Matarian fusions. On your opponent's field to face down defense position, again, this is a card that did see a lot of play just as a good generic trap card. And then the other one is It's a hard defense mission. Yeah, hard defense mission. So when an opponent's level 8 or lower, once again, level 8 or lower, monster with 2500 or more original attack declares an attack, destroy the attacking monster. Again, just having a basically Sakuretsu armor that's situational would still be very, very, very strong. And it's very clear Konami is trying to avoid giving us trap cards that destroy monsters. As well as the fact that still doesn't actually work against a lot of fusion monsters. So like these are the type of generic traps that we could potentially get. So they didn't want to give us Crisis, and it wouldn't really have helped anyway. They didn't want to give us Hard Defense, and again, it wouldn't really have helped anyway. So they gave us Bryce Terrace Crisis, which still doesn't really help. Now, it sort of helps, but what we really want is like Book of Moon for fusion monsters, because a lot of the time it's getting OTK'd by fusion monsters that's sort of the issue, right? So it's like, give us cards that stop that. Unfortunately, just they don't really exist. Just in Rush, they don't really exist. It's just a problem that we have with the skills and having 10 less cards in our deck and 2,000 less life points just speed the game up like too much. Right, but why are we so desperate to avoid the type-specific traps? So this is the exact same thing that we talked about before, which was they didn't want to give us like the back row hate until they gave it to everyone, right? Because I think there was that one, when they raised the level cap, they gave like every single type their back row hate straight away, except I think the Warriors and the Wing Beasts. Like I think every other deck that was out got their back row hate then. And I think it's a similar thing. They don't want to give out the traps unless they give everyone their traps at the same time, because they want everyone to be on an even playing field. So that's why I've been saying, I think in one of these boxes eventually, they're just going to have to give a trap box just full of everyone's traps. That's how I predict this to go. The downside there being, not all types are created equally, not all types have good trap cards, and so when they do that, there will suddenly be a big divide between decks that have good traps and decks that don't. So it's a weird one. It's a weird one. Now, I think you just don't care, right? Some decks should have good traps, some decks can just not have good traps. That's fine. But I think Konami don't want that. And I think that's the problem we're having. I read the type specific, so they have to release all of them in a box or not release them at all. I mean, basically what we were just saying. Also, hello, Akuda. Welcome. Or just too generic. A Windstorm and TTT had long shelf lives and speed. I don't think having a trap be a staple for a long time is the worst thing. I mean, we basically got legend traps. The current ones we have are staples. Slime is basically a staple. Now, we have seen some people, go away from Slime because of Metarian. But if Metarian is no longer like a 90% representation deck, people will bring back Slime, right? You just would. The next character has to be a Goha brother. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It probably will. In my opinion, the next speed character will be either Tiger or Yuga Goha. I think it'll be one of those two. I think they'll probably be the last two major speed characters. And then after that, it'll be like funny ones like, Sebastian, or look, Otis is here, sort of thing, right? And is that Cyclone Valley in the chat? Tomato, my boy. Welcome. I think it's because you release one, you have to release all of them, because the specific type is going to be at the top. Don't scream, I'm scared. Well, Ray, unfortunately, sometimes people scream. But back to Avarice. Card is really good. Basically, your options right now are quite limited in Legend Spell. Tribute to the Doomed is like the most generic / good. And you still need to play that if you're going to be playing against like maximums, or if you don't have a very good way to beat set 3, you're probably still just going to want that card anyway. Reincarnation still does have some really good uses if you're playing a maximum deck yourself, such as the Worm deck. If you're playing the Dragon Fusion deck, I do think those is still really good for those decks. Sword and Shield doesn't see a ton of play anymore, but maybe. So basically it comes down to when are you going to use Avarice? Well, I think for the most part now, you're going to be using Avarice as much as you can. Like if you aren't reliant on Reincarnation or aren't reliant on Tribute to the Doomed, I think you then just use Avarice, because Avarice is really good. It's so good. It's so unbelievably good. Now, Avarice did have bonus uses in the TCG, and that is because of a little card, or the OCG, called Progress Potter. Now, we don't have this card yet, and this, I think, was the first limited card in the OCG. I might have to fact check that. But I think this was the very first one. So what does this card do? Shuffle 5 monsters from your graveyard into the deck. Okay, that's a Pot of Avarice type effect. Shuffle up to 2 cards from your opponent's graveyard into the deck. Again, Grave Hate is a lot better in OCG. It's starting to become more relevant in Duel Links, but it's still not quite there yet. Like, it's okay, but it's not, like, crazy at the moment. Then you can draw cards equal to the number of Progress Potter and Pot of Avarice with different names in your graveyard. So, why was this card limited? Because there was something called Potter Loop, where you would basically just keep shuffling Progress Potters back into your deck, drawing them out, playing them again, drawing them out, playing them again, drawing them out. There was a bit more to it than that. I'm not going to go into like the whole combo, but basically this created the first like loop deck that caused some big issues. Several other cards did also get hit for a similar reason, such as Necromaid Nana. But Progress Potter probably could just come out at 1, maybe 2 copies. Because you need 2 of this card to really get the whole use of its effect, right? Because you need to have the ability to have a Progress Potter in the graveyard. If it's limit 1, you could only get 1. And I don't know if they're going to release Potter anytime soon. But this is basically the primary way that Psychic players get monsters back into their deck from the graveyard. Psychic don't have a lot of recycling. Psychic have like a lot of milling. They don't have a lot of recycling. So this is their primary way to get them back. And again, this would be a really nice card if we could get it, but obviously we don't. But that is something to look forward to in the future, because now we do have Pot of Avarice, so now there is, you know, a reason for them to give it to us. This is going to be the best mini box. I mean, fingers crossed. Lightstar Sign Bros. Malfoy voice Potter. Wonder if you'd use Avarice over Reincarnation in Fusion Worms. Possibly. The downside with Fusion Worms is you still need a way. Like, you're always going to need your Build Dragon. So, like, as long as you have access to that, it doesn't really matter. I actually do think Sevens is going to have a Burst Stream of Destruction problem. I'm going to assume that's what BSOD is. Where they're going to have to scrape the bottom of the barrel for characters. What's BSOD? Something Side of Dimensions. What was the B in that? Wasn't it Dark Side of Dimensions? Is it DSOD? Where's my deck build box, Konami? No. We don't need a deck build box. I like being able to get everything. Wait, sorry, DSOD. Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, Burst Stream of Destruction. That's an abbreviation I know. There's a lot of notable characters in Sevens. Yeah, I mean, I would like to see more Sevens characters come out, but I think realistically, we're not going to get all of them, right? We're going to get... I think Yuga makes sense, and I think Tiger makes sense. I don't think we're going to get many of the other characters, personally. Blark side. But yeah, we got some new skills. Again, we'll get into those when we get into the skills, but, you know, these are good. You should get them both anyway, right? So then we come to our box, the Requiem of Collapse, with our boy on the front. Everyone's favorite, Void Verge Requiem. I'm just going to say, I'm not a fan of Void Velg. That's Void Velg, not Void Verge. Void Velg, I get it. The R is kind of hard to pronounce, whatever, but, like, it doesn't sound as cool as a Void Velgia. I'm just saying it. I'm saying it. Like Prop Otis too. The only thing is, Otis doesn't really do anything. Like, Otis's deck throughout the series is just different legend monsters, which I don't think that's enough for, like, a whole character. And then his actual deck at the end is basically just Yuga's deck with a few changes. So I don't know. I don't know if it would matter. Quick question, Tomato. Do you think I need any cards from the old Go Rush box URSR at more than 1 copy for the new box decks? Should I continue with the old box before starting the new one? It's not easy. It's not easy to answer that question. I think for the most part, they're going to be somewhat independent. I don't know yet if we would be playing Meteor Charge in Dark Galaxy. So that is my first thought, is we might want Meteor Charge for Dark Galaxy. But until we've actually got our hands on the cards and tested them, it's hard to know, right? Dark Sevens. Yeah, true. What did I miss? Everything. The stream's ending. Yeah, guys, thanks for watching the stream. Ray has decided that stream's over, so we're going to be... No, we're fine. So, what we're going to do now is take a look at our URs from this box and kind of go through, and we'll talk about some of the older stuff, and we'll kind of go from there. So, first up, we have Cataphract, which I don't know. So his old name was Cataphractos, and I think that's almost easier to say than Cataphract. Like, Cataphract just doesn't sound nice to say. But this card's pretty good, right? This is actually, I think, the second wave. I think this came out when we started getting the fusion monsters. So this is not like a surprise, but this has been brought forward. So first things first that stands out this card, 1000 attack, 1000 defense. That's so good. Because we are in a meta where Light Galaxy is very, very prevalent, and thus Meteor Charge is very relevant. So having a monster that has okay attack and defense is really, really important in this current meta. So this card, immediately, good stats. If we have another face-up Dark Attribute monster on your field during the turn that we normal summon this card, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. If we sent a monster to the graveyard by this effect, we can add a level 8 Galaxy-type monster from your graveyard to your hand. So that, again, is pretty good. We basically just get a free plus, and we get a mill. So first off, milling is good, especially if we hit a Galaxy monster, because we want Galaxy monsters in the grid anyway. And we also get that plus, but the only downside is the plus is a boss monster, which does get a bit weird because the skill basically also only adds boss monsters, or exactly Pale Rider. So it is a plus. It's a very rigid plus. It only gives us a boss that could brick us. Obviously, we don't have to take it back, but like, if we could get a plus that we could say was a boss or a normal summon, it would be absolutely fantastic, but this is fine. Now, there will be cards in the future for Galaxy that do let you manipulate the top card of your deck, so you will be able to better get this effect off, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't think we have any at the moment. I'll have to like have a quick read through in a minute and have a look, but gamble time. Cataphract is the English version of the Greek Cataphractos, so I guess it's a reasonable translation. I prefer just the words where they're just easier to say, or like they're more fun to say, like Void Velgia, Cataphractos. Just sounds better than like Void Velg, Cataphract. I don't know. Skill could add back Star Trancer, I guess. I mean, you can, but that's still, I guess that is a kind of a normal summon if you squint and if you just make sure you have another normal summon. So yeah. Will Zuijo save us with Dark Hole? No. No. Don't be silly. So next up, Void Velg Requiem. So send the top card deck to the graveyard. This card gains attack equal to the number of face-up Dark Attribute monsters on your field times 300. So if you summon this on its own, 28, which means it would, I don't know, deals with most things anyway. Most of the problematic decks are light, so you're going to get the bonus effect anyway. And then if your opponent has a face-up light monster, it gains an extra 600. So that means if it's on its own and you're staring down a light, which you probably will be, you're going to jump up to 34. That is okay. If we have 3 dark and your opponent has a light, we go up to 4,000, which means this card is basically just a better 7's Rogue Magician. 2,500 attack on your opponent's turn is nice, but getting rid of a 25 is not difficult these days, so it's kind of just 7's Rogue Magician. It goes up to 100 attack more than what 7's Rogue Magician goes up to. I mean, it's fine. It's not bad. It's nothing like super crazy, because again, like obviously 7's Rogue Magician, you have to set up the graveyard, but that deck does that relatively easily, so it's still fine. 2,500 attack is still good. It's just in the world of skills and obviously like fusion spam that we're in, 25 is not too difficult to get over anymore. So I don't know how impactful this is going to be. We'll have to wait and see till we actually get our hands on it, and it's going to depend how easily we get access to this card and how easily we get it out. Wow, he ignored my beautiful emote. Yes, I did. No slams the pot into the wall. Hello, Mr. Tomato in chat. Hope you all have a great day. Hello, Sakadetsu. Welcome. We are just yapping about the new cards. And speaking of new cards, let's go on to the one that I'm probably the most excited about. I think the worms look really cool. I don't know if the worms are going to be actually super competitive. Obviously, again, we can theory craft all we want until we actually play the cards in this meta with the skills, with the life points, with the deck size. It is difficult to tell, and I'm not going to bother doing it on Dueling Book, right? So, Infinite Constructor Worm Build Dream, made using Build Dragon and Pylon. Send 1 card from your field zone to the graveyard, destroy 2 monsters. Now, it has to be 2, which Ray did point out during our last stream. having to be 2, that kind of sucks. If this could pop maximums, it would be a lot better. But this card is still okay. You can get rid of face down cards. We can pop fusion monsters. It's a good card. This is a good card. It's just not crazy good. So, like, another thing would be, like, if this high had just, like, 2800 or more defense, this would actually be a lot better, just because that means it wouldn't die to Victor Star on its own. But it doesn't, so it's still good. It's still good. It's just nothing, like, crazy. Then we have Candy Live, made using Candy and Psychic Upper. Now, the very important part here is Psychic Upper is a level 6 monster. So this is not made using 2 bosses. This is made using a level 6 and a level 1, which is actually quite nice, because that means we need 1 less card to get into it, right? Yep, worms are super cool after this box. I mean, I don't know if you actually need to play the new field spell, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Is this Persona 3 music? Yes, this is. This is Battle Hymn of the Soul. So, if your opponent has a monster on the field, we can take 2,000 damage, and then you can make all face-up monsters in your opponent's field lose 3,000 attack until the end of this turn. So this punishes your opponent for overextending in basically the same-ish way that Matari and Ashura Star does, right? Now, the difference is Matari and Ashura Star plus Gun is everything you need to kill your opponent. Candy Live is going to be what? It's going to be Candy, normal summon, tribute to get out the Psychic Upper, activate fusion. That's a 4-card investment to get your Candy Live out. Now, you don't have that many cards left over at that point to actually kill your opponent. You're going to get in for 28, because you're almost certainly going to reduce one of their guys down to 0 attack with the effect. Bam, 28. Let's say you got like a 15 as the other card. Bam, another 15. Now, if we don't have anything else, we haven't OTK'd our opponent. You will see later when you scroll a little. Counter argument. I'm ready for the counter argument. Normal summon bear, summon Candy. Yeah, I mean, that can work. My point is, Candy Live, in a lot of situations, is just worse than Ashura Star. And a main character's boss monster should not be worse than Ashura Star. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, to be fair, Ashura Star is a main character's boss monster as well. But Ashura Star plus Gun makes all of these other really cool fusion monsters look so much worse by comparison. And I think that's the problem we currently have. Is we need to deal with the Ashura Star Gun issue. That is a problem that is just always a massive pain in the ass. Obviously, again, this is also high investment. We have to give it a lot of cards. We have to give it 2,000 life points. And if our opponent has any back row, it stops us. Now, we do actually have access to Jamp Check, though. So maybe that's not a big deal, right? We can just look at our opponent's back row, say, okay, he can stop me, or okay, he can't stop me. I'm just going to pop off, right? Now, the other effect is pretty good. Gain 1,000 life points. Full stop. Well, it's a comma, but, you know, we can just gain 1,000 life points. But then we can special summon a level 7 or higher psychic monster from your graveyard. Now, the only downside with this is because we've made this using a 1 and a 6, we don't already have a 7. So if we just already have a 7 in the graveyard, we can bring that back, which is okay. The other, I guess, like, kind of pseudo downside is this guy only has 28, but I think that's fine because it's made using 2 lower level monsters anyway, so it's not really a deal breaker. Ashura Star and Gun at limit 2 both. I mean, there is some potential. I think something has to happen at some point, but it won't happen until after the GRF anyway. But we'll go down to our SRs. And we'll bring them to here, because then it should be easier to see. So, first up, Constructor Desk Worker Tarask. Now, this is very, very new. This was... I want to say this was 2 sets ago, this release. This is a very, very, very modern card. And as such, when it came out, I even said, this card is underpowered, right? For a modern OCG rush environment, this card is kind of weak. So the best part about this card, in like the modern rush environment, is that it mills 3 cards. And that is very important because we're in a very mill everything into the graveyard sort of meta right now. We're in a stuff everything in the graveyard, toolbox the graveyard, put stuff back into my deck to fuel effects. That is basically the sort of meta we are in the rush OCG. This card is too fair because we give up a card and then we add a card. So it doesn't plus us. And in, again, the modern rush OCG, Everything just pluses. Everything just gives you, here's a free card, here's a free card, there's a free card, there's another free card. So this card is too fair because it doesn't plus you. But that does mean it's actually quite good for Duel Links, because Duel Links plussing is still, like, it still happens quite a lot, but it's not every card pluses, right? So this is almost like it was released in the OCG so it could come to Duel Links. Like, it's weird. But let's get into what this card does. Send one card from your hand to the graveyard. Send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Again, very, very strong effect in OCG because we want to turbo the graveyard. Then you can add a fusion or field spell from your graveyard to your hand. Again, very, very good. We can get fusion back. We can get a field spell back. We'll be constantly sending field spells to the graveyard if the deck's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And we'll be milling fusion or just, fusing with it. Now, adding fusion back to your hand is not as important because the skill infinitely searches fusion, but there might be a situation where you want to use the other part of the multi-choice skill. So you would use this to get the fusion back. So, like, there is stuff there. Sakadetsu on a 3-stream streak. Worm fusions save the deck. Worms tier 0. I don't know if Worms will be tier 0. I hope they are a contender. I'll tell you that much. That is what I'm hoping. I think they have potential. I think that's what I would say right now. Ban the goddamn gun! I mean, that's... I haven't been shy about my opinions on the gun. Let's just put it that way. Why are you guys talking about ban list even though we have like 70 days until the ban list comes? Well, I think one of the ban lists goes live today, right? So we literally... It's ban list day today. We just had the new ban list go live. Wow, crazy. But yeah, it'll probably be, hopefully a new ban list around Christmas, right? That's kind of what we're hoping for. The next up, Star Replacer. Now, this card is pretty cool. This is also relatively new. I want to say this came out end of last year, I want to say. Like, it's not new, but it's like newish. So 200 attack, a little bit weak. 1000 defense is pretty good. Now, obviously, the attack is only really relevant because we are in Meteor Charge Galaxy meta and a little bit Vritra Star, both of which can flip this card up, and it only having 200 attack means you are going to get slapped for quite a lot. If you have no other monsters on your field, return this card from your field to the owner's hand. So we can't do this twice unless we find a way to get the newly summoned monster off the field and have an empty field. Cyclone Valley wants to choose the sleeves. I'll tell you, we'll do that after we've gone through the box, Valley, because otherwise we're going to like derail and the pacing is going to get all off. But if you have anything that you want us to go for, we can just put that on in our own time. So we special summon a level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard, in face down defense position, which is okay. So because it's face down, we won't get its effect. Because it's face down, we can't fuse with it unless we had polymerization, which we don't have yet. So we're basically just getting back tribute fodder or just a defender to wall up, right? So that in itself is not bad. And it can be any level 4 or lower, so it doesn't have to be a normal monster, doesn't have to be a specific type, it's just any level 4, which means this is basically splashable in any deck that is allowed to use dragons that are low level or low attack, right? So overall, pretty good card. For the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters from the hand or graveyard. Okay, so I forgot about that last little bit. It means that even if we do clear the field, we wouldn't be able to get the second effect anyway. This is fine. It's nothing like insane, but it's just like a free plus that any deck can have. At this point, I'm a little bit like, why is Seahorse Carrier still limited when we're just giving everyone Star Replacer? Because the whole point of Seahorse Carrier being limited was every deck was playing it because you could just play a small package. Now you don't even have to play a package, you just play Star Replacer, and that is the package. So like, I don't know. Now you could make the argument that the monster has to be face down. If you use Seahorse Carrier, you can summon it to your hand, you can summon it face up. Does that matter? Getting like a 1400 vanilla face up that doesn't do anything, it doesn't fuse, doesn't, like outside of the actual Aqua deck, it doesn't do anything. So it's like, does that matter? Star Replacer got a nice tail. Yeah, I guess. Lol. Caught me off guard then, man. I don't expect that from you. I don't even know if that was you being dirty or if that's my mind converting that into something dirty, but... Next up, Jointech Leo. So, another limit 3. So that... Oh, we didn't actually mention that. Constructor 1 Tarask is also limit 3. Now, What does that mean? It means we can't play this with the maximum. That is the primary difference. Now, would you play this with the maximum? Yes. Why would you play this with the maximum? Because it sends 3 to the graveyard. The maximum deck wants us to have a low deck count, so if we do find the maximum early, we could do that anyway. Getting the field spell back to hand is also quite nice, because then we can use our other part of the skill to grab back a level 3 or a maximum piece from the graveyard. So, still pretty good. Then we have Leo. Now, Leo, I do see in chat, Ursus saying poor Leo. Leo is a bit of a jerk in the OCG. This card has been responsible for so much bullshit, but it's not his fault, right? The problem is that you just use this to gain advantage, and you can just do some pretty nasty stuff with that. Now, again, we don't have all the cards, so we're not going to be able to do any of their like crazy stuff with this. Right now, it would be like, I guess like Earth Machine Burn is like almost a deck that you can play. It's not really, but it like sort of is. Yep, now there's Big Dragon, Aqua Beatdown, Tail Fetish. Is this War Crimes I hear? So, Leo was a big part of Earth Machine Burn, in which you would use... God, what is that card even called? The one that we already have that came in the Cyber Dragon structure that burns your opponent. I cannot remember what it's called, but use that. Use like Toceratops. We have a whole video on it on our YouTube channel if anyone wants to like look that up. That is a thing, but Earth Machine Burn is a thing. There is some like pretty gross stuff you can do with this, but this card, 1400 attack, really nice stat. Grand Cerberus, thank you. I'll be honest, I don't understand why either of these are limit 3. So I think this is limit 3 because they don't want you to play it with the maximum. That's just the end of it. I think this is limit 3 because we can use this to get back Ancient Gear Golem. And I think that is basically it. I think that's the reason this is here at limit 3 at the moment. But during the turn, we normal summon it, choose a spell trap in your opponent's graveyard, set it to your opponent's field. So what you're supposed to do with this is you're supposed to get back Rex, right? So you slam this down, you give your opponent a spell trap, you tribute it off after you've got the Rex back to your hand, you get rid of your opponent's back row you just gave them, wham bam, you've just got a free +1 from getting Rex to your hand. That's the be-all end of what this card was supposed to do. But with this card now, you could, you know, get back Ancient Gear Golem. And I think this also just goes back to Konami just want every deck to have a limit 3. So I guess this is just the Join Tech limit 3. I don't know. It's weird. Okay, but like I don't understand this. If you're playing a Rex because it can pop back row, how is it good to pop the back row that you give them? So it's basically just a free 2500 body, right? Because you just wouldn't have the Rex otherwise. That's the logic. So like, I'll give you your card back, then I'll get a free +1, and now I'm not getting the full value out of my +1, but I now can get a 2500 body, and you don't gain the advantage of what you had. Or if you have a less desirable spell trap, you can have that back, and I'll pop one of your other spell traps, right? Don't get me wrong, it's not anything crazy, but this is a, again, very early Go Rush card back when they weren't super great. Is a free 2500 body good in this kind of meta? No. No. No, it's not. Like I said, I don't know why this is... Well, the card is free, right? Summoning the card is not free, right? But you understand the point. It is a +1. There's a +1 in card economy. It's not a +1 in advantage because you +1 and you give your opponent a +1, so you both +1, so you haven't actually gained anything over your opponent. So, I mean, take it for what it is, right? Realistically, I don't think Leo is going to be particularly good. I think if this card was unlimited, this card could have seen some play. I think with it being limit 3, like, where would this go? Right now, the Machine Good Pile deck that plays 3 Innovator. And you're not going to swap this Innovator out for this guy, are you? Realistically. So I don't think Joint Tech Leo is going to see much play. We'll see some experimentation with this card for sure. I just don't think we're going to see anything, like, actually come off it. Then we have a really good card. Void Velge Globule. This card is actually insane. 0 attack. Sucks. Because, again, we have Vitristar. We have Meteor Charge. This card is going to get eaten alive, and you're basically going to get direct attacked through this, which feels like ass. Shuffle 3 Dark Attribute Galaxy-type monsters from your graveyard into the deck. Okay, that's pretty good. We're going to be milling quite a lot, so putting them back in the deck is always going to be pretty good. This turn, this face-up card can be treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a Dark Attribute Galaxy-type monster in attack position. So that in itself is okay, right? It's just a discount. It's a Surge Bicorn, right? Getting out your big guys for a little bit cheaper is quite nice. The reason this card becomes really, really good is because this will eventually be half of a fusion. So already it's okay because you can get out your bigger guys easier. That's already not a bad thing. But eventually when this also gets a fusion, that fusion is really, really strong. And you'll want to play this card anyway because, again, just discounting tribute summons is pretty good. Is this card going to be like super amazing immediately? I'm not sure. The skill that we'll probably be using with this deck does mill you quite a lot. So we'll probably want to have this just to put cards back into our deck. Because we can't keep putting cards back in our deck, and because the skill lets us add bosses back to our hand, we should have a steady flow of boss monsters. So we should be able to use Globule's effect a lot. So theoretically, we could be using Globule like every turn, or like every other turn, and just spamming out bosses. Our board gets wiped, we mill some more, we put some bosses back into our hand, we go again, we go again, we go again. So this card, until we actually, like, again, get our hands on the cards, we won't actually know how this performs, but I expect this card to be quite good. And then there's Pale Rider. This card is very important because in the future it gets fusion, but more importantly right now, with one of the skills, we can add back monsters that have 1600 or more attack that are milled. Which means this is always going to be one of the best cards to grab back with that. So, you know, plus, yeah, 1600 attack. It's good. Yeah, I shouldn't have to explain why this card is good. It's a good card. Then we get Psychic Upper. Now, this card is actually kind of ass, but this is half of our fusion. So that is the primary reason we'll use this. We can also use our skill, which, again, we'll get into the skills in a bit, but we can use the skill to get this out as well. Or is it out of... It doesn't put it in the graveyard, does it? It puts it... I think you special summon it once per turn, or you add it to hand once per turn. I think it's added to hand once per turn, or once per game. But 1800 attack, During the main phase that you normal or special summon this card, send the card to the graveyard. This card loses 800 attack, and you gain 800 life points. So we're going to summon this out, use its effect, lower its attack, gain 800, fuse it off. That is generally going to be the game plan. Not really much to say outside of we need to play this in order to make Candy live. We're probably going to be playing Candy live if we're going to be playing the new Fusion Psychic list, so And then we get to our Limit 3 Bear. Ice Pop Bear is a good card. During the turn that we normally summon this card, special summon a Candy or Amalilith from your graveyard face up to your field. This turn we can only attack with Omega Psychic and Psychic-like monsters. So, worst case scenario, we bring back a Vanilla from the graveyard. It's tribute fodder, we tribute both off, we summon out a Psychic boss, hunky dory. Best case scenario, we grab back fusion material, and then we can either make one of our bear fusions, or we can use the Amalilith or Candy to make one of our big fusions. Right now, all we can really do is use Candy live, but this has set the scene so that when we do get the other Psychic fusions, or the other Omega Psychic fusions in the future, we will be able to use this with them. So, add to hand once per turn. Yeah, that's what it was. Yet another Limit 3 to the Psychic list. It's a weird one. So, we came out of Psychic meta, right? Psychic meta was pretty crazy when it was in full swing. It, though, was still nowhere near as dominant as Metarian is right now. So the Psychic meta, Psychics were obviously very prevalent, they were very powerful, even with all of their restrictions. But their skill was also hella busted. So now, I look at Ice Pop Bear, and I'm like, so what are we taking out? Realistically, we're probably not going to be playing the Can Reedy. It is Reedy, right? I'm pretty sure it's Can Reedy. Double check that quick before I just get all the names wrong. No, it's not Reedy. What's the other one? Melody. That's the one. We're probably not going to be playing Melody in this deck, because without the old skill, we can't easily get Melody's effect off. We also won't be able to really do any looping shenanigans. So I think Melody does lose a bit more value in the fusion version of this deck. So we're probably just going to play the 3 Ice Pop Bears, or maybe like a 2-1 split, but probably going to be 3 Ice Pop Bears. Realistically, I don't know. I've had enough of Psychics anyway. I think it depends. I think Psychic is pretty fun again. Because, again, it's not Metarian Galaxy or Cyber Dragon. And that's kind of all... Like, even at this point, it's like, even Cyber Dragon's kind of fun now. Just because it's not Metarian and it's not, like, Galaxy. That's just kind of what happens when you get into these, like, kind of stale metas. Like, we just had Mono's custom ban list tournament. And Psychic did perform really, really well in that. Recap last hour, please and thanks. I mean, that's not happening. Has it already been an hour? We've already been streaming for over an hour. We've barely started, I feel, as well. This is, oh, we love to yap, don't we? We love to yap. I already have the sleeves. Nice, nice. But yeah, welcome on in, Manicus. So. Iceport Bear, good. Candy, oh. Candy, oh. Candy plus Iceport Bear. Special summon a level 6 or lower psychic monster from your graveyard face up to your field. Now, what level 6 can we summon? Well, we could summon back Psychic Upper. We could summon back the bear, but we won't get to use bear's effect because it's during the turn we normal summon it. We could also bring back the Candy that was used to summon it, or just anything else in between, right? One of the better cards to bring back might end up being the Performer. We could summon out Performer, use its effect, mill both players, potentially get a draw, and then tribute it off. Like, there's a lot of different things we can do with this. It's just very interesting fusion monster because it's level 4, right? A level 4 fusion with 2000 attack. Relatively easy to make because Iceport Bear just gives you like the free plus. So it's basically a 2-card investment to get this guy out, and then it gives you a card back. So basically we summon Bear. Bear gives us a free +1, so we've still only used 1 card from our hand. Then we use Fusion, so we've used a 2nd card from our hand, presumably, to make this. But then we've got the Candy, so it's replaced itself, and then we can use its effect to basically completely refund itself, which is pretty cool. I enjoyed the new box yapping. I appreciate that. Iceport Bear, Star Restart, 3-card double fusion combo. I mean, yeah. You can also bring Roman Pick. Yeah, good old Roman Pick. There's so many interesting things you can do with this deck. And people might not like Psychic because of its explosive potential back when it was meta, but you can't deny it does have a lot of interesting lines. It does have a lot of like, and then you can do this, which does this, and then with this enables this, and then we can do this, and then we can do this. And I think a lot of people really vibe with that kind of playstyle. Now, the biggest problem Psychic had previous to getting the new skill the old skill, the current skill, is you could spin a whole bunch of plates and go nowhere. And then when the new skill came out, it was like, oh, well, now you can just kill your opponent very, very easily. And a lot of people didn't like that. So it would be nice to find like a middle ground where you still get to spin plates and you still get to like play the game in a very interesting way, but you don't just automatically win because you're like a tier above every other deck, but also you're not spinning your plates and spinning down to like nothing and you just don't do anything, right? Now, the next time I want to see and play Psychic will be Rovian Bandit win Psychics. I don't know about any of the others before. I think Psychic is still a really cool deck. I think, personally, the Dark and Light Psychics of Roman are a lot more interesting than the Wind Psychics. Wind Psychics are very equip spell focused. They have some interesting cards. Overall, I'm not the biggest fan of them. Psychic is hard to play. I would make the argument that Psychic is a lot of potential gambling, but it's like you can kind of work out probabilities, you can work out how things are going to work out, and a lot of the time it does reward a good player. So there will be some situations where you'll just draw the god hand and it won't matter anyway, but if you draw a subpar hand, a good player playing Psychic can a lot of the time find their way out of it, whereas a bad player won't. And I think that does separate good from bad players, so I would say that Psychic is a relatively skill-intensive deck, in my personal opinion. So then we have Galactica Amnesia. Now, this was a card that everyone saw coming. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this card. Level 6. Again, don't really like level 6s. Place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. Yeah, I don't really like putting cards from my hand at the bottom of my deck. Special summon 2 level 6 or lower Galaxy-type normal monsters from your graveyard face up to your field. I don't really want to be playing level 6s, so... You know, but like bringing back like Transam Linak, that's okay. Don't mind that. But this turn you can hit Galaxy monsters again. That's fine. All the Galaxy skills lock you into Galaxy. That doesn't matter. Not a big fan. This even has a skill. Still not a fan of the skill. I milled your NA with my Performer. I'm a good Psychic player. I mean, basically, especially back then when we had, I want to say even more limited back row, but like the only thing we've really gained is card restoration. So, and then we have Worm Drake Crush, which is pretty cool. A constructor worm enveloped in specialized construction gear. It is said that no matter the size of the project, the worm could demolish the site in one blow. So I really like this card. If you have the field spell out, it becomes a 28 and its defense becomes 15, which is still not bad. We can summon this off of Build Dragon, which is probably its main claim to fame. So I could see us playing probably just a single copy of this, if I'm honest. So there, right. This might be kind of cope, right? This might be kind of cope. But listen and hear me out. What if we just don't play Tarask, right? We just don't play it. Tarask is, we don't need it. Who needs this cute little worm gecko looking thing? Instead, 3 Secret Order, right? 3 Secret Order, 3 Build Dragon, 3 Drake Crush. I'm not saying it's going to be the best way to play, but this is a Secret Order target. It's not a bad one. All we need to do is get it into the graveyard. Secret Order is now turned on. Build Dragon is now turned on. We just need to find a field spell. There is stuff we can do with this. This is something I will be experimenting with, and I think this could potentially be the best way to play this deck. I still think Tarask is good, but Tarask ain't Secret Order, right? It's just not. Now, Tarask will turn your skill on easier. That is something to take note of, right? Because we have to get, you know, our normals in the graveyard. We want to be getting Build Dragon in the graveyard. We want to be getting some of that stuff going. Now you just copy all the Red Eyes and DM players. Potential. I'm just saying there's potential. I'm not saying this is going to be the best way to play this. I'm saying there is a chance. So now, let's go and take a look at our rare cards. Void Corridor. If you have a Dark Attribute Galaxy Set monster in your graveyard, send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard. Add 1 Dark Attribute Galaxy Set monster from your graveyard to your hand. So, this is bad, but when we get fusions, this becomes really good. Also, this is still good if we use it to get back a card that pluses us, right? So, if we use Void Corridor, we give up the card itself. We give up a card from our hand. Then we gain a card from the graveyard. So it's only a -1, right? So that's fine. If the card we get back pluses us, so if we get back, for example, a Globule. If we get back Cataphract, and we know Cataphract's going to work. If we get back Parashoom, which is now called Parafungus. If we get back any of those cards, the cards that actually plus us, it breaks even. So it can just be, I need to get monsters I can do things with, I will use this. The other thing is, we can also use this card to just get a boss monster back. So if our bosses are all in the graveyard, we just don't have a play, our play is going to be set 3 pass, we could use Void Corridor to get back a boss, slam it down, bam, we actually have a play for the turn. So it's not awful, right? This card, again, when we get fusions, and especially when we get the fusions that, or the fusion material that pluses us, like the Dark Prophet, this is going to be even better. For right now, I don't know if this would find a home in the deck. My guess is you'd be weighing your options between this and Meteor Charge. One of those two will probably hold the slot for the deck. I don't think you'll be able to find room for both. But Void Corridor has potential. There is a lot of situations where it's going to be really good. How good is it going to be immediately? You know, I'm going to have to test it. That's what I think is going to happen. We'll probably play like a bunch of point battles. We'll obviously play a bunch of ladder. We'll see how it feels. We'll have to go from there. But again, potential, high potential. Then there's Amabel Lilith, which is pretty cool. This is made using the Amalilith, which is going to be half of the fusion for the other psychic bosses and is only in here because we've got Ice Pop and Ice Pop mentions it, and we can't have a card in Duel Links that mentions a card if the other card is not available, right? I would try a Dark Galaxy build that's more monster heavy, to be honest. Yeah, the downside is, it comes down to how useful the Pierce is going to be. If the Piercer does everything on its own, if we just guarantee we're going to be running 3 copies of that, we're going to be adding that back to our hand constantly, then yeah. If we're worried about bricking a lot, that is when I would like not do it. But I personally think we'll probably end up playing triple of the Piercer. What's his name? I completely forget what his name is. This guy, Star Chancellor. We're probably going to end up playing triple Star Chancellor, and then you just wouldn't play any of the others. Probably. The Metarian Killer. We'll have, never say never, but I don't think it's likely. So anyway, Lilith, return one monster from your opponent's field to the owner's hand. That's pretty cool. If your opponent has a fusion monster out, you basically say that fusion monster is going back to the extra deck. If your opponent has a maximum monster out, we put that whole maximum back into our opponent's hand. If your opponent has a face down monster, that face down monster is going back into their hand. Now, why does being a face down monster matter? Because then your opponent can, so they don't have to, special summon a monster from their hand face up to their field. Which means if they want to summon out the face down monster, it has to be face up, which means we can now get to their life points. If we put a maximum monster back to the hand, they can't maximum summon, so they have to just special summon a piece or just not summon anything. And if we put back, you know, a fusion monster that goes to their extra deck, they can just summon something that they've got if their hand even has any cards in it. So this card is really good. There's going to be some situations as well, like if you put back Ancient Gear Golem, they can't just slam it down again because it can't be special summoned. So there are going to be some situations where this is really, really, really good. So Amabare Lilith, I'm not going to say this card's just going to be like incredible, but it does have a lot of potential again. There will be some situations where you'll just play this because, I mean, you're probably going to be playing the Amabare Lilith anyway, just in the fusion build, because Bear can just give you a +1, and situationally you might want to go into this, and its effect can be very relevant. No Prima Fusions, my disappointment is immeasurable. But that just means, Baj, there will be more product in the future that is focused on Psychic. Does that not make you excited? Imagine the next box that comes out has one of them in it. And then, like, bam, there's a load more Psychic support. In face-up attack position. Is it me, or does Dark Galaxy feel a little like Light Machine? What do we mean by that? We have a lot of ways to put things in the graveyard, then put them back. We have a way to find piercing. We boost our attack by a bit. I mean, I could see it. I will say that Innovator kind of does everything on its own and doesn't really need to rely on anything else, whereas Dark Galaxy kind of has to combo together with a lot of other stuff. It's called more expensive. Listen, you're a Sky Striker player. You know how this goes. If your archetype is cute, it goes in 8 different boxes. That's how it works. Konami forgot to release the good Thunder Fusion. Yes, it is so disappointing. Because, again, these Thunder Fusions, like, they're okay. They're not, I wouldn't describe either of these two as good. They're okay. I was really hoping for more out of the Thunder stuff, if I'm honest. I was really, really hoping we'd get a lot more. I just see leaks, and I see more Rush insect monsters. They really want to make ants playable. The thing is, the ants aren't even, like, the good part of the insects. Like, the Go Rush insects are actually, like, kind of cool. And we're getting more insect support right now. Like, the next box that's coming out is going to have more insects. So they could, if they wanted to, bring that forward, right? And just give us more insects earlier, which would be really, really cool. Are they going to do that? Yeah. Will I need to go into this box as a poor Light Galaxy player? Ooh, that is a good question. There is a Light Galaxy. So if you want to play the Amnesia deck, I guess, but you don't. I don't know. I don't think this deck's going to be super great. I'm happy to be proven wrong on that. You get like Cycline, which is like the only other target for that. Yeah. The actual main, like, weirdly supportive card for Light Galaxy is Dark Handshaker. This card is weird. So, shuffle one card from your opponent's grave into the deck. Okay. Then, if you have a face-up level 7 or higher normal monster. Now, this is a Dark Galaxy monster, which means you can't play it in a lot of the decks that restrict you to only having Light Galaxy monsters. But there isn't a level 7 Dark Galaxy normal monster. So this is clearly meant to be used in not Dark Galaxy, but then you can change an attack position to defense position, which also doesn't really accomplish much. Like, in some situations, if you've got like 2 meteor charges, or I don't know, I don't think this card is particularly good, but you know, it is technically like Light Galaxy support, so I thought we'd mention it. If the archetype is cute and I like it, Konami will probably not touch it because they like me. I don't think that's true, Badge. So what you tell me is Psychic Tier 1. Ooh. I don't know where I would put Psychic, if I'm perfectly honest. Psychic has potential. But I think it's like, it's potential for like Tier 3 is kind of how I look at it right now. I don't actually know if the new Psychic is going to outperform the old Psychic. And that is like, Galaxy Ouroboros. Aloha, hello Jambo. Yeah, handshake. It's just a little handshake. It's the handshaker. It just shakes hands. Don't worry about it. My friend actually was waiting for this box to release because she originally learned about Dark Galaxy and she's finally going to be able to pilot it. Nice! I will say, Dark Galaxy hopefully will be a playable deck. Hopefully will be a tournament viable deck. Fingers crossed. But the deck really, really picks up when it gets its fusions. When we get the Dark Galaxy fusions, that's when the deck becomes really strong and really fun. So even if they don't like the first wave, I would say, like, you know, hang in there. When we get the next wave, that's when it's going to be really good. They still haven't touched my Sky Strikers. Does that mean anything? Well, they would still, like, take your money away, but they won't take the deck away because they want your money, right? That's the logic. So the more spread out your deck is, the more likely it is to not get hit. I'm going to use new stuff, but with old skills, I think. I mean, that's definitely something we should experiment with, 100%. We don't know. Nobody knows what's actually going to be the best until we actually get our hands on it and touch it, right? And actually play with it. If a new Psychic is successful as old Psychic is right now, I think that's solid. I mean, yeah. Psychic has won 2 tournaments in Go Rush meta, right? So, you know, again, when we nerfed Metarian, Cyber Dragon, and Galaxy, Psychic was performing very well in Mono's tournament yesterday. You can't play Bear with Mellow. Absolutely correct. Because they're both limited 3. We were talking about this earlier, where, like, you'd probably play... In the pure Fusion version, I would probably play Bear at 3, maybe at 2. I don't think I'd want to play Mellow, because especially if I'm trying to make this, I'm playing Psychic Upper. So, like, realistically, I'm going to be playing... I don't know, you could probably get away with 1 Psychic Upper, right? Because you can add it to your hand. But then once it's been used, it's been used. We don't really have any good ways to shuffle. We are also apparently in an ad break, so we'll just wait for that for the unfortunate few who have been bombarded with the adverts. Light Dark Galaxy Mix Deck. The only problem with that, Sakadetsu, assuming you can hear me, is that a lot of the skills hard lock you. So you'll get some skills that lock you to Light Galaxy, you'll get some skills that lock you to Dark Galaxy. Especially the good skills, they tend to lock you into your attribute of Galaxy. So here's the thing, just like me, she's a non-competitive player. So I understand that, but like if you're butting your head against ladder, for example, and all you play against is Cyber Dragon and your deck doesn't like beat Cyber Dragon, that could still not be very fun, right? So like it depends. You'd be sabotaging yourself since Dark Galaxy is literally weaker than Light Galaxy. Rush. Kid game, delay speed update. The power level will increase so Orcus can be free. So stupid. What will you choose? Free Orcus or Rush? Always Rush. Always Rush, Kim friend. Rush will always be my baby, and there is nothing that will change that. I love speed. I've always been a big fan of speed. I enjoy playing speed. I enjoy watching speed. I've been really happy with the speed meta as of late, apart from the birds. So, you know, not going to do it slant speed in any way, slight speed in any way, but Rush will always be my preferred game. That's just how it's going to be. I prefer to not deal with stupid skeletons. Thank you very much. I've been listening to The Smell of the Game a bunch lately, so it's funny. It's the first thing that plays when I join the stream. I mean, it's a great song. Great song. And I can't see any more of his messages since I blocked him for being free. Are we talking about Kim? Because Kim isn't actually, like... Kim friend is... He's a jokester. He comes in the chat all the time. We have great chats. He's just, like, doing the sarcastic wind-up. Alright, next card. Constructor Chief, Worm, and Toolum. Made using Constructor Warrior Shovelum and Pickalon the Constructor Fairy. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This card gains 200 attack until the end of this turn. So, 27. 27's okay. You beat over 25s. That's nice. If you get the field spell out, it becomes 31. That is a lot more relevant. That beats over a lot more things because that doesn't just beat Matarian Fusions. That beats Dragiastar. That beats Seven's Paladin. That beats Ancient Gear Golem, right? There's so much more you can beat over at 31, which is actually really, really good. Now, if you know me, wow, I take jokes way too seriously. I mean, you're welcome to take the joke however you want, right? It's just the idea of mixing. This chief looks so cool. I mean, I think he does look cool. Where you can try that, just be careful with the effects, or as the Dark Galaxies can weaken your own monsters. So, send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. So first off, we should actually talk about what this is made of. So this is made of a 1500 vanilla and the Cycler, right? The discard, draw a card, 200 attack, 1000 defense. So it's made using 2 Wimps. But then 200 attack. If a face-up field spell is not on your field, so if we don't have a field spell, we can add a Peaks of Blistopia or Silver Mountain of Blistopia from our graveyard to our hand. So that's fine. We don't have to talk about Silver Mountain right now. We'll get to that in a minute. But get field spell back. Most of the time, you probably wouldn't make this, but this is like a nice little toolbox where you're just going to be like, I've got the materials out. I could do with the fusion. I'm not doing anything else this turn. Okay, let's make hand tool. That's kind of the way you use this card, which is fine. Other decks already with Galaxy, level 1. Yeah, so I think this card is fine. It's not anything crazy. It's not going to break the deck. It's quite nice, and it's just a bit of quality of life. Then we get into our Thunder cards. So first off, we have Poseidon Adventurer. So this is made using Angler Coilfish, which, I mean, is down here, right? Yeah, it's this guy, 1500 vanilla. And using Pluggy Fish, which is a 900 vanilla. So 2 vanillas make this guy. All we have to do now is play the Pluggy Fish tax, and we can basically play this in Thunder without really too much worry. But we can send the top card back to the graveyard. All face-up Thunder-type monsters on your field gain 400 attack until the end of this turn, which means that the worst-case scenario, this is a 3000 attacker, which is okay. That's not bad. It's just that was a 3-card investment to get a worse Ancient Gear Golem. So it's like, It's also arguably just worse than like all the Metarian fusions, which are made in a similar way. So it's like, We're just missing T-Deer Pop Fusion and we're good. So, Tomato, guess what? What is it, Vali? What is it? What have you got for us? And the Divine Tree, don't think I forgot about Yggdrago. I mean, I guess next we'll talk about our limited 1 trap, Mismatched Rivalry. Oh, so this is the trap we were talking about a little bit earlier when we were talking about the other Rice Terrace trap. So, when your opponent normal summons a level 5 or higher, so if they tribute summon a guy, special summon a level 5 or lower normal monster from your graveyard to your field in face-up attack position. So this is awkward. There aren't many worth bringing back. Like, it's just kind of want 1500 vanillas. Whatever you bring back is probably going to die anyway, and it has to be face-up attacks. This doesn't actually really protect you. It basically says a lot of the time you'll be taking like 1500 less damage. I mean, it's okay. I don't know if I would rather have this than Card Restoration, if I'm honest. I don't know what we get out of having a level 5 or lower normal monster on our field during our opponent's turn. Because it's not even when they attack, it's like when they summon. So, like, they can still just do stuff to your guy. They can get rid of it, they can use effects on it. I don't know. Gonna be trying Worms. They seem a little slept on. I mean, yeah, we were talking about Worms earlier. I think Worms look really good. I'm quite happy with Worms. I think they're going to be good. Tomato is not logged in. Shake my head. I'm logged in on my other browser. So this is the browser we record on. So peeking behind the curtain a little bit. We have 2 browsers. We have one browser, which is where we record on. This is where everything looks nice. We've got it stretched exactly how we want it. We have the exact aspect ratio we like. This is perfect for looking at cards, looking at stuff that we look on online, to record for videos and stream. The other browser, everything's very, very tiny because it's a better aspect ratio for when I'm using it day to day, right? That's why this one isn't logged in, because we're logged in on the other one. And there you go. We've peeked behind the curtain a little bit there. I kind of don't get why it is limit 1, because, Dwan, Konami hate trap cards. So all trap cards now must be released at limit 1 so that you can't play all of them. That's what they're doing. Of course, Galaxy Generator, I think the card was called, I would use that as level 5 beat stick. And there is chat. Do you see that pink/purple border? That means it is a trap card and therefore is not allowed. Exactly. I've always seen it as pink, personally. For me, this is purple, this is pink. This is purple, this is pink. So that's how I've always seen it. But I don't know if, like, maybe I'm colorblind. So my worm investment wasn't total garbage. Also, anyone want 3 Build Dragon? I have 6. Well, you know, if 3 of them are a higher rarity, that's at least something. Hide 1. The other browser is in incognito mode. Well, the status of my other browser is none of your business, Manicust, okay? I see it more as very light magenta. I mean, that's fair. I mean, it's like we're not trying to work out exactly where it is on the color wheel, but I would describe it as a lot more pink than purple, especially when this is very clearly purple. So, next we'll just talk about Showering Sea Furno, made using Zap Zap, Octospark, and Pluggy Fish. So everyone knows Pluggy Fish. But I guess we'll talk about Zap Zap quick, since he is a fusion material here. So, I mean, we can't see this super well. Why is that not? Oh, is it because we're over here? There we go. If I do that, that looks a lot better. So Zap Zap, Octospark. Level 6. Already a red flag. Why are there so many level 6s in this set? We don't like level 6s. Stop having level 6s. You normal summon this card this turn and have a face-up Thunder type normal. So ideally that would be Pluggy Fish. Gain 400 attack. Neat. 2000. Still crap. Then inflict 400 damage to your opponent. Okay. If we're going to immediately fuse it off, burn for 400. Make this guy, his effect burns for 800. I think. Yeah. Burns. So you burn for 12. So like, that's relevant, at least. Like, 1200 is not a small amount of burn. But this card lets us add a Zap Zap Octospark from our graveyard to our hand. So because we've just made this, we know we have one. So we automatically get that back to our hand. Then burn for the 8. Then if your opponent has a face-up level 8 monster on the field, this turn this card gains 800 attack. All level 8 monsters. Not 8 or lower. Not 8 or higher. Exactly level 8. Lose 800 attack. If this was 8 or higher or 8 or lower, I would like this card a lot more. Because this is exactly 8, not a fan. But we do get that Zap Zap back to hand, so theoretically we could go Zap Zap plus Jelly Plug, use the effect burn for 400, fuse into this, burn for an extra 8, and then bring back the Zap Zap, summon Tribute for Zap Zap, summon again, burn for another 4. That's now like 16. I don't know. There's like, I'm not the biggest fan, if I'm honest. Now let's get Circular Portal after checking out the next fusion. Zap Zap. Every time you badmouth level 6s, the countdown until tier 0 executee is reduced by 1 day. I was fully expecting us to get a new executee in this box. So I was expecting us to get the other bad executee. Which one is it? It is this one. Fina. I was expecting to get Fina. Because Fina makes sense for this box, right? It's a shit level 6. If your opponent has a face-up monster with 1700 more attack on the field, send them top of it to the graveyard. All face-up monsters on your field gain 200 attack. This is another one of those executed that never saw play. This is like the other bad one. But like, it just made sense for me that this card would come out in this set. It's a psychic set. This is a psychic monster. It's kind of mid, so this could just come out as like an R or an N. So it would have been fine. And then you like slowly start giving us the good ones one at a time. Like, to me, that would have made sense. But that is not the way things went. Poor Blue Eyes. Wait, why poor Blue Eyes? Did I miss something? Okay, so I'll be trying these because I've always wanted the Thunder Fusions, but shame it's only level 8. Yes. I actually think out of these two, Poseigon's just better. Like, his effect is better. He's made easier. Like, this is good if you specifically want the burn, or if your opponent is specifically on level 8s, and even then it's a bit situational. Even just getting it out, you have to give up an extra card. This is made using 2 normal summons. So I just prefer this one. And you can also get the material back using Stormbolt Destroyer, so... I love having cards that requires a specific level. Yep. Screw Blue Eyes. It's because Blue Eyes are level 8 exclusively. Ah, right. I'm on the same page. Well, so are Dark Galaxy. Dark Galaxy are... all of them except one of the main deck bosses are level 8. So, you know, it's an anti-Dark Galaxy guy, I guess. So next up, Cyclin. Shuffle 4 Galaxy-type monsters from your graveyard into the deck. So this does not say Dark or Light. So theoretically, we can play Dark and Light Galaxy monsters with this. Draw 1 card. Now, this effect is good. Shuffling 4 back into the deck is good. Drawing a card is good. Being a level 6 monster is bad. Being a level 6 monster that only has 1600 attack is bad. Having 0 defense is very, very bad in a meta where things like Meteor Charge exist. So, can this work? I mean, never say never, but like, is this going to be good? Probably not. This is designed, obviously, to be played with Amnesia and the new Amnesia skill. If this was on a level 4 body, this would be amazing. Because it's on a level 6 body, like, the problem is that plus is really good if we can special summon it off of something like Amnesia, right? But Amnesia only summons normal monsters. So we'd have to basically get it off of, because we can't even use it with the skill, right? If we go and find the skill real quick. Send level 6 a high normal monster from your hand or deck the graveyard to make it... Yeah, it doesn't... You can't even get a way to special summon it. So it's just... You have to tribute it out. And then... Like, the plus isn't a real plus. Because the plus is replacing the tribute fodder. So, like... Coming same time as Pot Bad. There is one Galaxy level 8 from Structure Deck. Well, there's that one then. Yes, I used the thing as a beat stick. I don't know. I don't think this is going to be particularly good. The reprint, and then Silver Mountain of Blisstopia. Yeah, go -1 to go +1 seems not worth it. Yeah, that's basically how I... If you could special summon it, maybe. We can't special summon it. And even then, it's still so many hoops to jump through. The deck's going to be a bricky mess. But Silver Mountain of Blisstopia. Activate this card if your opponent has a face-up level 7 or higher monster on their field. So, first off, if you're playing against heroes that are not playing the level 7 and higher because they don't have to, you just can't use this card. That's already quite funny. While this card is face-up on the field zone, if a player would tribute summon a level 7 or higher worm monster in attack position, they require only 1 tribute. So, the way that you really want to use this is to load up your deck with high-level monsters, then use this basically to discount them. If you only use this effect once, it sort of doesn't matter, because by playing this card from our hand, we've stopped ourselves giving up 1 tribute monster, or 1 tribute fodder. So, we have saved ourselves nothing. So, if we still gain value from having a field spell on the field, so a Build Dragon, for example, or Build Dream, fine, that's great. We can still gain the value from it. If we don't do one of those things, it's sort of irrelevant. So, Silver Mountain of Blisstopia, I am not the biggest fan. I think it's fine, and it can be good in the right situation, but it is not one of those cards that will always be good. Whereas I think I will always prefer having the attack boost from the other one, Peaks of Blisstopia. And the reason being that we have now got Drake Crush. So we can quite easily make a Build Dragon, get back Drake Crush, and then we can, if we want to, also go into Build Dream, use that effect, and then we just have like this massive board. Also, being able to have your Build Dragon be at 29 means that we can now attack over those 28s, which is going to be, again, like Matarian bosses, for example. The downside is, if we do that, if we play the, we want Peaks of Blisstopia because then we can summon out Build Dragon goes up to 29, we can then bring back Drake Crush, for example, as a 28. We are now very, very, very susceptible to gun OTK. So, even that doesn't really seem super worth it. But then again, I still like the name that Galaxy Soldier had previously been Giant Bulge. Good old Giant Bulge. But yeah, I think Blisstopia is fine. I don't know if we would play this or not. Like, maybe this will be an auto-include. I think we'll have to get a hold of this card and test it before we actually work out if we're going to be using it. And then we come down to our ends. So first things first, Burst Ray Blaster. Reveal a level 7 or higher Galaxy monster in your hand. Inflict damage to your opponent equal to the number of face-up monsters on their field times 200. This is going to cap out at 3 monsters, so 600 damage. That's not bad. Then you can make 1 face-up monster on your opponent's field become light attribute until the end of this turn. That is not super relevant. So Why do we want our opponents to be light? The most obvious one is going to be Void Veiled Requiem to get the extra 600 attack. Okay, that's fine. This guy's like stats are a bit mid, but you'd probably play it anyway because you want to have dark attribute names. And when we get the level up rewards, we will be getting Void Veiled Meteon. This card also does like your opponent to be light, so if you have a face at level 7 or higher dark type monster on your field, send this face up card from your field to the graveyard, destroy a level 6 or lower light attribute monster on the opponent's field. So, if we do change a 6 or lower on our opponent's field to light, we can pop it, which is not bad. Now, are we going to be playing Meteon? I don't know. The card is kind of a bit shaky, but we might play it just again to have Dark Galaxy names. We'll have to wait and see when we actually start building the deck, but potentially we could see this card see some play. Especially since, like, if we're just going to be playing some useless card anyway, like a vanilla, we might as well play this. Then we get to a good card, Meteor Lava. This card is really good. So send cards equal to the number of face-up Galaxy-type monsters in your field from the top of your deck to the graveyard. So this might not seem that great, and right now, probably won't be. But in the future, milling cards becomes very, very important. Especially with the Dark Galaxy deck that likes to toolbox their graveyard, you'll have a lot of cards, you know, such as Corridor. We'll get things like Prophet, which gets back Fusion from the graveyard. We're going to get a lot of cards that just get cards back from the graveyard, so having a way to mill a lot of cards into the graveyard is going to be pretty good. Then we have a 0 attack 1500 defender. This is going to be what, our third or fourth 1500 defense monster, something like that. Neat. Then we have a really good one. Parafungus Colony is really, really strong. So if we have a face-up level 7 or higher Galaxy type monster on our field, that is the downside. That is the bad part of this effect, is we have to have a level 7 or higher Galaxy type monster on our field. We could special summon a Parashroom Colony, or, you know, Parafungus Colony as it's now called, from your graveyard face up to your field. We can then tribute those and then summon out another boss monster, right? So there is some cool stuff you can do with this. But the downside is we have to have a face at level 7 or higher Galaxy type monster. Now again, that Galaxy type monster doesn't have to be dark. So we could summon this off, and we could get this effect off if we have a light Galaxy monster that's high level. So that is at least some potential there. So, still a good card, still a good card. And again, really good stats. 1000, 1000 in a Meteor Charge meta is obviously going to be really, really good because we want our monsters to have high defense so they get pierced over. We want our monsters to have okay attack because they can get changed to face-up attack position. So many they call Dick the Dark Galaxy Serpent or something instead of the dumb name we have now. So then we have Celestial Ganzel. This is just our 2100 level 6. I mean, this is just very clearly supposed to be used with Galactic Amnesia. There's nothing particularly interesting to say about it. This is a reprint. We already talked about Handshaker. It's kind of mid. We have a 1500 vanilla. We got the Amalilith, which we've already talked about as well. And then the last new card we have from the box is Rindmule. So if we have a field spell, face up on the field. Or sorry, if there is a field spell. We don't even have to have one. Our opponent can have one. Send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. This card gains 500 attack until the end of this turn. Realistically, this won't see play in any of the decks. I don't see a reason to play this. We already have better millers in the current maximum version of the Worm deck. I don't know. I don't see this card seeing any play. But that is it for the box. So we only have a couple of other little things to talk about. But this box overall, Dark Galaxy looks playable. Worms have a lot of potential. I think the Psychics do also have potential, but I'm not as convinced by it as I am with Worms. I think Worms might end up being a bit better, but we'll have to wait and see. I think the Thunder cards look a bit mid, and I'm really not sold on the Amnesia stuff. That's kind of my opinion. It's better than Mixer, in my opinion. I think I would rather have Mixer, because Mixer potentially gets you a draw. Right? Like, it might not, but it might. Whereas this guy has lower attack. Wait, Mixer, is Mixer 800 attack? Or is Mixer 300 attack? Because there's the one which mills and then gets you a draw. And then there's the one that like lets you look at the top. And I can't remember. Come on. What are we waiting for? Here we go. So it has got 1200 attack, 400 defense, which generally doesn't matter. I think I'd still rather play Mixer, personally. I mean, the 500 attack is nice, go up to 16. This guy gets to 21. No, he doesn't. He gets to 2000 if you have the field spell. And I think I'd still rather have, again, the chance at the draw rather than this, personally. It is a draw, right, with Mixer. Yeah, you can draw a card. Because this basically has a... Because the reason you're playing these in the maximum deck is to try and get the number of cards in your deck lower, whilst also trying to find all the maximum pieces. This can put a maximum piece in your graveyard, but also lets you draw into maximum pieces, or just gets the number of cards in your deck lower. So I think I'd still always rather play Mixer. Alright, now, last few cards to go over. First one, Void Velge Meteor. We've already spoken about this. The downside here is that we have to send this card to the graveyard. So it's like an exiled force for light monsters that are level 6 or lower. The 300 burn is neat. I don't think it's going to come up too often. Then we get Angled Digra. So this is actually one of the cards I predicted would be in the box. So it looks like it's not going to be in the box. I would assume this is going to be a ranked reward, but you never know. Send the top 2 cards of your deck to the graveyard. Then if an insect monster is among the cards sent, so this incentivizes playing as many insects as possible, which right now would mean playing all of the ant cards. This card gains attack equal to the number of monsters sent to the graveyard times 400. So we only have to hit 1 insect. So we don't have to hit like double insect. But if we do hit double insect, we'll still get the plus 800, which will boost this guy up to 32. 32 is a relevant number. 28 is a lot less relevant. It means we'll be crashing a lot with a lot of the current meta threats. Digger is fine. I don't know if it matters too much because we still don't have access to Dynastorkus. When we get Dynastorkus, that is when the insects might actually start being pretty good. We can spell. Dynastorkus. So shuffle 3 monsters from your graveyard into the deck, destroy a face-up level 5 to 8 insect on your opponent's field. This turn you can attack with insects. This is kind of when the deck will be probably somewhat good, because there are a lot of cards that change your opponent's monsters into insects. So if we get them along with this, that's when it will start coming together as being a real deck. Free-to-play insect ant users eat good. Yeah, but then like by that logic, the noodle players would be eating good, and they're just not, unfortunately. So then there's Biomech Mantis. Shuffle an insect monster from your graveyard into the deck. One face-up monster your opponent's field loses 300 attack until the end of the turn. Then you can make that monster become an insect. So once again, we have a way to change our opponents into insects. Right now, we don't really have anything we can do with that. So the only card we could use is Rampage. So shuffle 2 monsters from your graveyard into the deck. All face-up insect monsters on your field gain 300 attack. So that's fine. Then if your opponent has a face-up insect monster on the field, you can destroy a face-up level 8 or lower monster on your opponent's field. So this is actually pretty good, right? Being able to pop a level 8 or lower. This is basically a 2-card combo that gets rid of any level 8 or lower monster. Which is, that's not bad, right? That's not crazy, but it's not bad. Especially considering we're not allowed any good trap cards. Having a spell card that gets rid of a monster is actually kind of not that bad. And then we just have our speed card, Clearwing Fast Dragon. This is a weird card. It's obviously, speed roid support. Kind of, So, if we go to our skills, I had a quick read through. I don't think anything majorly has changed. The one thing I did notice is skill 5 isn't here. So skill 5, there is a face-up Void Velge Elysium on your field and a face-down monster in your opponent's field. Draw a card. You can activate the skill during your next turn. Unless we hit refresh and it suddenly appeared, I don't recall it being here. So it's not this one. This is the good one. This is the one that just adds Requiem to hand. This is the one that changes to light, and then that's it. Yeah, we have lost a skill. Our skill 5 is just not here. So I don't know if this means we'll be getting this later, or if they're just not going to give us the skill at all. But skill 5 seems to have vanished. Which, I don't know if that's a big deal or not. This is one that I was actually quite looking forward to testing, so we'll have to see what happens there. Ray mentioned. Exactly. Right, we have been yapping for so long. We need to wet the whistle. Maybe it's a rerun skill? I mean, possibly. But usually rerun skills don't get data mined this early. Insects look like new plants. I mean, plants at least are in a box. Insects are just kind of being scattered around. They're more like beast gear. But next thing we're going to do is talk about some OCG stuff, guys. OCG. Who doesn't love OCG? This is like peering into the future. So the first thing we're going to take a look at is a new boss monster. So he just won't go away. We have the Meteor Skull Demon Meteor Skull Archfiend. So this is a fusion between Summon Skull and an Earth Dragon monster with 1800 attack. So this is supposed to be used with Meteor Dragon, but any of the other cards that are basically Meteor Dragon stacked work, right? We'll get to King Rex, don't you worry. And Plants had a skill. Exactly, Koova. Exactly. Man, I want more usable traps. We all want more usable traps, man. They sometimes were data mined early in speed. Okay. I don't think we've had that as of, or at least as much in Rush so far. Even Beast Gear are better than Insect. Insect have an okay way to pop level 8s at least. That is something. And they technically have like a way to OTK. Beast Gear don't even have their field spell yet. But this guy's pretty cool. So the big thing that stands out to me is this guy's level 8 and he's got 3,600 attack. Those two things don't usually happen together. Usually if you have an attack this big, you're level 9 or level 10. So that's already something. But it has a continuous effect during the opponent's turn. Should we make this a bit bigger so we can read it a little bit better? I think that looks a bit better there. Monsters on your field cannot be returned to the hand, deck, or extra deck by effects. That is such a funny effect. There have been so many like power crept ways to deal with cards, right? So first off we had a bunch of destruction traps, right? And as we got a bunch of our destruction traps, monsters or boss monsters then started needing ways to protect themselves. In fact, we can turn the chat back on now. I think that'll be fine. There we go. So, because we had lots of destruction traps, boss monsters started getting, this card can't be destroyed by trap cards. So then, we needed to power creep that because we needed to, again, deal with big boss monsters. So we started spinning them. We started returning to hand. We got Riser, put it back in the deck. We got compulsory evacuation device, put it back in the hand, etc, etc. Now, we're power creeping that with monsters on your field cannot be returned to the hand, deck, or extra deck, which is very amusing. Because now, when we want to deal with this sort of effect again, we're going to have to power creep again in another weird way, which I find that hilarious. It's just like an arms race. But this card's pretty cool. I do think that the Red Eyes deck is already very fun. So this going along with the new Maximum, I think this is more interesting than the new Maximum, if I'm honest. Well, I must go to locals. I hope you all have a great stream. See ya, Sakadetsu. As the ants, maybe, but not as insect overall when we will get, or could get. Do we know now what the line on the Red Eyes Maximum could mean with spell traps returning to extra deck? What? I mean, I'd have to go and have a look at it again, if I'm honest. But the next card we want to look at is Galactica of Eternity. So this is just artwork, so there's not going to be anything too big in here. This is interesting. So this card is called Galactica Oblivion Arc. And in my opinion, this is very reminiscent of a lot of the Arc V stuff, like Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon and Dark Rebellion, or Arc Rebellion. Dark Rebellion, Arc XZ, is that what it was called? But yeah, reminds me of them personally. So I'm interested to see if anything happens there. This is a Requiem, so this is Requiem Strike Back. We've got Skull Archfiend of Confusion, Archfiends of Manifestation, the Animagica Sorceress, another Animagica card. We'll have to see where that goes. More Animagica cards. We're getting more of our insect cards, which do look quite cool. I'm not like disappointed with these. These are actually some of the insect ninjas as well. These were, I think these debuted in 7s and have still not come out. These are still like an anime only archetype up until this point. Then we have Deadline of the Mad Fiend of Despair. We have Whispering Fairy, which is like, you know, whispering because it's a cat girl fairy. And then we have Balloon Bashia, which is okay. Maximum R piece, it says your opponent can't return your spells and traps to hand, deck, or extra. I wouldn't read too much into that. That might just be future-proofing. We'll have to wait and see. We really will have to wait and see. In case your boss monster gets hit by Rush Snake Eyes and sent to the back row. Oh, could you imagine? Alright. Then the other news we had, Cyber Dragon and Harpy structure decks coming to Rush Duel. Now again, this is OCG, so this is not coming to Duel Links, but this is pretty cool. We're getting a brand new Chimera Tech Cyber, right? Now, Most people should know what Chimera Tech means, should be very familiar. So that's going to be very interesting to see what they actually give us. The Harpy deck name is a bit more generic. Just Harpy Lady Sisters. You know, the maximum is just called Harpy Lady Sisters, so it's like, eh. Harpies still were good in this meta. Yeah, I mean, Harpies, the latest wave of Harpy support was really, really strong in the OCG. But the only downside is we have to wait till March. So these are still several months away. We probably won't be getting reveals for these for a very long time either. But Cyber Dragons and Harpies, who doesn't love those archetypes, right? And now another support wave? Exactly. Then we have Legendary Lightning Legend cards strike back. So we're getting a reprint of Summon Skull, neat. Then we're getting Super Conductor Tyranno, and as you see down here, Lightning Vortex. But we'll talk about Tyranno first. So, not really a good card, but 3,300 attack is okay. Defense is very low. We have to send a monster from our field to the graveyard to use its effect. It only burns for 1,000, which you have to remember in OCG there were 8,000 life points, so we're only going to take them down to 7,000. And it can't even attack the turn it does that, which means it's probably accomplishing less than if it just attacked anyway. So, meh, big meh, unfortunately. New cards, PogChamp, exactly. We currently get leaks for January pack, the Red Eyes and Dino stuff, so it should be the next leaks in line after. So we have Lightning Vortex. I mean, there's nothing, like, this doesn't have to change, right? It's the same wording. Send a card from hand to graveyard, destroy all monsters. That's fine. We have Dark Hole, so this is like one-sided Dark Hole for face-ups that requires a discard. Dark Hole's probably still just better. Welcome back, Darth Victor. So then, Two-Headed King Rex is coming! Two-Headed King Rex! So, all the Dino Bros should be hyped. We're getting a 1600 vanilla, which unfortunately is less impressive now because, like, the Magnet Warriors came out and the Elemental Heroes came out. So, like, this is no longer as cool as it would have been, but it's still neat. He's got an okay defense value. The music was perfect when you were happy. I mean, I'm always happy. Unless we talk about Batarian, then I'm just Madge. So, I'm quite happy with this. I'm looking forward to what we get because we've got quite a few reveals now. So obviously we have the Red Eye stuff, we've got the Dinosaur stuff, and we have the Papillon stuff. And that's kind of the triple build pack. So obviously this is their official website. It's quite nice to see the cards that they've revealed. We still have a lot of reveals left to go. We're hoping to get a lot more dinosaur cards. So theoretically, all of these are dinosaurs, right? Like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're going to get probably at least 12 dinosaur, like new dinosaur cards. I mean, bear in mind, Rex isn't here yet, so Rex is going to be one of these. But, like, still exciting, right? As long as they're not just a bunch of reprints. Because if they are, that's going to be the most disappointing thing in the world. Happy with two-headed thing? You're like, yay. Do not goon to insects. Oh, no. Can we... Unfortunately, there's not like a good image I can find of this. Where are they? Here you go. There we go. That's an insect. What do we think, guys? Are we excited for insects? Who's excited for insects? Insects tier 0, let's go! But now we're going to talk about the big news. The big news. Obviously an insect. Because it looks like it went fusion spell, new archetype. Zoomed in on an interesting place. Listen, right? All I do is control mouse wheel, right? The rest of it is entirely up to itself, right? We just zoomed in on the image. So, we have a new mechanic coming to OCG. So if you don't want some anime spoilers from the latest episode of Go Rush, now would be a good time to vanish. But we're going to be talking about the brand new mechanic coming to Rush Duels. So, brand new mechanic, or is it the oldest? So we have Ritual Summoning coming to Rush, which is so unbelievably exciting. I think it's one of those things, if we got a unique Rush mechanic, that would be cool. I think a lot of people would be very happy with that. But because it has a bit of nostalgia attached to it, because it's the familiar combined with the new, I think that is very exciting, right? We've been talking about Ritual Summons for a very long time. I think I was talking with my friend Alex. This is probably in an old episode of Character Draft somewhere where we were just talking about adding rituals to the game and how we would do it and how we would put ritual monsters in the extra deck. Now, we don't have it confirmed they're in the extra deck yet, but it's all but confirmed, right? Let's go. Ritual don't get love in TCG. I mean, rituals have had their stints, right? Like, Necros was obviously a big one, which we do also still see in Duel Links. In Duel Links specifically, we had the Cyber Angels. In the TCG, we had... Oh god, what's that card called? The really annoying negate one that just negates everything. Herald. Herald of Perfection. And... Oh, what is it called? It's going to annoy me. What's the other big annoying ritual monster? I really cannot remember what the heck it's called. You should know the one. If you played Master Duel, if you played TCG. Drytron. Thank you, Quantum. That's going to drive me nuts. Drytron, yes. So, like, there have been times where rituals have, like, really shone, right? I do get some info thanks to the card translation, but not for the ritual spell. Apart from that, it was Disco. This is going to give TCG players more reason to complain about Rush. I've already seen so many people, like on Twitter, on forums, saying, let us have ritual monsters in the extra deck in Master Rule 5 or 6 or whatever they're going up to. And I'm like, that's a cool idea. I don't know if that's going to work, because then it would like just make a lot of the cards just not work anymore. Like, what does Manju do if you keep them in the extra deck, for example, right? Be interesting to see, though, what happens with it. It's now Ritual Fusion Synchro, probably from extra deck used as a spell, but probably also exact levels. And we'll have to wait and see, because we don't know, right? Because we have no idea what level the new guy is. It could be level 11. It could be 10 or 9. We'll have to wait and see. Tomato, how many ants you got? I have 1 of the UR, and I have 4 copies of the commons, I believe. I think that's it. Choose the game mat. Someone wants to choose our game mat. What game mat do you want? We're kind of in the middle of this, but that's fine. We can go and choose a new game mat. Do you have any idea what game mat you want? And then it was it Vali who got the other one? I don't know if Vali's still about or not. But Ramiron, if you know what kind of mat you're looking for, we can grab it until you've decided, because we're not going to like sit here and go through absolutely every single mat. But if you have an idea of a mat you want, feel free to drop it in the chat. Until then, we will go back to talking about ritual summoning. Maybe this will be the thing that shows Konami that there's international interest in Rush IRL. I mean, hopefully. Thinkers of Prime Cool, Chameleon could have gotten something from deck, for all we know. I just need 2 fire and 1 water, and I've got them. Ooh. God damn, Manicus. So, I'm excited for this. I think a lot of people are very excited for this. It's interesting to see them introduce this so close to the end. I think we've got, like, basically... Realistically, we've got somewhere between, like, 10 and 30 episodes left, probably. So we'll be able to, like, finish out the arc. But it'll be interesting to see if whatever the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, if it has a lot more. Now, we don't have an official, like, how many episodes have we got left? We don't have an official, the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Is definitely going to be coming out soon. But I do think somewhat the writing's on the wall. Go Rush already has more episodes than 7s, so I would not be surprised if it does start to end. Honestly, I think we could have ended at episode 127. I think 127 was a really good, like, just finish for Go Rush. And then it kept going, which felt weird to me. I want to get excited by it, but if they're just, like, Blusion, then it's not special. See, I've seen a lot of people have that exact take, and I really don't get that take. Like, apart from the fact you use a spell card to do it, and the monsters from the extra deck, like, it's kind of synchros, right? Except instead of a tuner, you use a spell card. Like, I don't see that as being, like, that big of a deal. And obviously, we've already talked about this before, but in my opinion, there's not a huge difference between, like, synchro and Xyz. Like, they're all basically the same thing anyway. You summon guys go away, new guy comes out. Like, they're cool, and they have these, like, small little changes. But the big deal breaker for me, or the big, like, how are they going to stand out thing for me, is are the cards themselves going to do anything unique, right? When we summon out the ritual monster, is it going to have something equivalent to a multi-choice effect, right? Where it gets a bonus effect or it does something special if it's, like, summoned in a certain way, or if something specifically happens, or, you know, because we did see in Grand's chat, he was talking about, like, an overcharge. I think that was a cool idea. I think if you're able to summon it using a specific material and getting a bonus effect, I think that's a pretty good idea. I think there are so many different things you can do with it, and right now, all we can really do is speculate. We're just making educated guesses, as that's all we can do. It will only be about 4 days until we find out exactly how these work, which will be very exciting. I'm very much looking forward to watching that episode and finally getting these answers, right? The case, Kawaii would have added level 8 ritual, and then where does Chameleon go? Yeah, basically. Pendulum is really the only unique summoning mechanic. Everything else got the same variation of fusion. Basically, like, Link is a bit of a weird one. Just because of, like, the arrows and stuff. Like, it's kind of its whole other thing. But I think by that logic, you could also make the same argument for XEs, because you have the whole XEs material thing. But fundamentally, everything except Pendulum is 2+ guys go away, and then a new guy comes out from the extra, right? That's basically what they all are. Rituals will be bad for 2 to 3 years, and then Konami will make them good, like with Maxes and Fusions. I mean, Fusions started out. I mean, they're both. Fusions were okay when they came out, I think. It's odd because it's one of those things that will obviously make the mechanic easier to manage, but it also make the mechanic less individual unless they make it level dependent as well as they material dependent. The biggest issue we've always had with rituals in TCG, though, and when you really look at it, Rush is sat there trying to fix all the problems that TCG had. Rituals had the issue of they are bricky, horrid messes, right? That's just what they are. So to fix this, Konami gave us a bunch of cards that give us loads and loads and loads of free plussing. Because in order to get the rituals out, we basically had to either cheat them with things like ritual using cards from the graveyard or ritual using cards from the deck, right? They were the kind of the good ones. And we also had to have a bunch of cards that searched out all the stuff. So we needed the searches for multiple reasons. We needed the searches for consistency because we needed to get a specific spell card, we needed to get a specific monster card, and then we also needed enough levels. So we needed the 2 specific cards, so we needed to search them, as well as we need extra bodies just on the field because we need stars to send. So Ritual, by design, was extremely flawed mechanic. Like, I get that people like rituals. I like rituals. I think rituals are really cool. I think making ritual decks work is really cool. But until you get into, like, the deep, like, the really late archetype stuff, rituals are very generic and they all play the same cards, basically. The same, like, main deck body for the most part. And even when you get into, like, the later archetype, you're basically still playing stuff like Manju, except it's just better in archetype Manju. It's still search your deck for a ritual spell and a ritual monster, add those, do this, get this extra stuff. I mean, just look at Drytor, right? That deck just, like, pluses to infinity. You end up with, like, 7, 8 cards in your hand at the end of your turn after summoning your huge board, just because the deck just needs so much plussing for rituals to work. So, like, I understand it's less unique, but I think it being more playable and therefore more fun should trump it being more unique. That's kind of how I look at it anyway. What should have happened was that Udius should have had a maximum out. Could you imagine? Ritual is literally synchro, but you don't have to add exact level. Basically, I mean, you're not wrong, right? Ritual and synchro are very similar. The difference, I guess, is that with a synchro, you have to have a tuner rather than an extra spell card in your hand. And there typically are more interesting things that have been done with synchros in the past, such as you need a specific tuner. You need specific monsters. With rituals, it doesn't really matter. It's just like, please just get 8 stars. I don't care where they come from. I don't care what they are. I just want 8 stars. Whereas with, like, synchros, it can be like, no, only wind monsters. No, I only use dragon monsters to make me. I don't care about anything else, right? So, like, there is still some difference there, but I think it's the small nuances and the tiny differences that are more interesting to me than just having the mechanic be unique. But again, that's going to differ from person to person. To make it as terrifying as the new edition of the mechanic, they destroyed the last one before that was revealed. Rituals are cool because they are blue based and true. Fusion got rid of a monster with equip maximum destroyed fusion, so Fusion's got rid of a monster with equip. Fusion's got rid of a monster with equip. Maximum destroyed Fusion. I'm trying to dissect there. What I look forward to is what unique design philosophy the extra deck rituals will add to the game to further differentiate them from fusions, like low-level rituals that you can fuse only one material, or if they have unique effects like fusions brought multi-choice. Yes, I think that'd be pretty cool. Sort of like, I guess, like Shino Birds and what was the other archetype with like the low-level rituals? There's a couple of them, but I do quite like that kind of design space. The problem is making them feel good without making them feel like a super in-depth combo deck that does a lot more than a lot of other decks get to do. But it will be interesting to see what actually comes of it. I'm looking forward to it at the very least. I think there could be some really cool shit that comes from this. I'm wondering if, again, when we get to Yu-Gi-Oh! 9, the main character is going to be like a ritual guy. He's just going to have like, or like the main mechanic is going to be rituals, and they'll kind of start there and work backwards. It'll be interesting. In their first appearances. Okay. I'm trying to think, because when Fusions came out, did he destroy the maximum with the Fusion? Alright, but. Next thing I want to do is take a look at a tweet. So, this is Apaki. Some people might know him as 8mm Apple, but he is one of the more respected players in the Japanese community. Typically, he's a very experimental player. He usually performs very well. And he is the host of the Angel Cup, which is currently on hiatus. So, his opinion, especially in the Japanese community, tends to hold quite a lot of weight. And this is his predictions for where the new decks are going to be in the new meta. So I think this is very interesting. Because we have Worms above Metarian and beneath Galaxy. So I should also specify and preface, Japanese players tend to play primarily in point battles. That is their preferred, way to play the game. Because of that, Light Galaxy finishes games very, very quickly, which means it does tend to overperform in point battles. So, it makes sense that they would value it as being higher than Metarian, even though in tournament formats, Metarian has been performing a lot better. It's curious to me, though, that they have got the Worms quite so high. So this was originally S, and they actually brought it down. So it'll be interesting to see where this actually goes. They're also putting Galaxy as just below it. So they're saying that Galaxy is going to be better than Warriors, better than Dragons, and better than Psychic, which is interesting. Again, until I actually play with the cards, I don't know if I could gauge exactly where I think it's going to go. And then obviously Blasters Inferno's there, and then like Galactica all the way down here. So what I thought would be fun is if we try to also do a bit of prediction for this meta with the new box. So if we take a look at our old tier list, this is kind of like the way we see the meta right now, where like Metarian is the untouched Godly Kings, which we will also be swapping over. If we do this, there we go. That looks a little bit better. So we have Metarian. Obviously, strongest deck in the game right now. They are just completely bonkers. I still need to sort this out quick. There we go, that's better. Where are the Cyber Dragons? That is the funny thing. In Japanese point battles, in the Japanese community, they don't rate Cyber Dragon pretty much at all. Well, Angel Cup is no longer on hiatus. So I did see a little message about that. I didn't actually double check to see if it is full on back or not now. So does that mean it's going to be on Thursday? So I've just not looked into this at all. Oh. Is it back? I need to check. I'm checking. Oh, it is. The Angel Cup is... Wait a minute. Yeah, it's on Thursday. Okay, cool. I guess it's a Thursday thing to do. Looking forward to that. The deck is going to die immediately to Void and Worm. I mean, I think that might be a little bit cope. Especially just as like a blanket statement without having tested any of it, but we'll see, we'll see. JP players don't like Sidra. Basically, every time... Link, please? Yeah, you can have the link. So that is going to be Thursday, so 2 days' time. It's Japanese time. So for me, that's going to be midday in the UK. But yeah, whenever you look at Japanese tier lists, they always put Cyber Dragon really far down. They just do, because it does not perform in point battles, like, at all. So the Japanese community just don't think Cyber Dragon is very good whatsoever. We obviously put a lot more stock in tournament results. Cyber Dragon does okay in tournaments, so we have it higher on the list, right? That's simple as. So, yeah, they think it's not good. Yeah, basically. Like, I think the deck's still fine. I think they undervalue it. But we're going to be talking about... First off, is there anything on here that like needs a swap, right? So 4K monster for free. Cyber Dragon gives Void Velger. Worm is just going to destroy their fusions. But like... By that logic, then Spellcaster Fusion is incredible because you have Seven's Road Magician who becomes 3900 almost effortlessly, and then you can fuse into a guy that goes up to 53. But that's just not what we've been seeing, right? So like, it's a weird one. Like, it's very easy to just be like, this deck will just automatically beat this deck. When you actually get into practice, it ends up being very different. Metarian is such a weird deck for me. I see it everywhere in the meta of the best tier 1, but I never play against it at all. And if I play it, it feels so bad. Never got more than one consecutive win. I mean, it's a weird problem because ladder players specifically, like people that don't play in tournaments, never see this deck. So they're like, I don't know, just whatever. Like Cyber Dragon's the problem. But then tournament players barely see Cyber Dragon and they just see this deck all the time. It's like, it's a very interesting disconnect. I recently changed job location to a 5-minute commute walking now. Better hours too. Oh, nice. Nice. That's great. I'm very happy for you, Menicus. The issue with that statement is Void can just add their 4K immediately with skill. Yeah, but you can also just add Seven's Road Magician with the skill. And also the skill just lets you like get fusion, so you can fuse it very easily. So like, it still doesn't hold water. Is Innovator MGS or Light Machine? Because I think MGS should be near top 3. So this is Machine Good stuff, yeah. This was originally Light Machine, but nobody plays Light Machine anymore, so we just didn't want to swap it over, so this is just Machine Good stuff. I mean, if we go and take a look over here again, like, because we were talking about, you know, people not thinking like Metarian is that good, and it's just like, these are the first place decks. And it's just like Metarian. So it's just like, it's completely bonkers just how like dominant the deck is. If we come over here as well, we can see Metarian has 12 tournament wins, with the next highest being Light Galaxy with 3. Cyber Dragon has 0. 0 tournament wins since... There we go. 0 tournament wins since the new box came out. So... But yeah, Machine Good stuff is still a really good deck, right? If we come back over here. I don't know if I'd place it much higher. Like, if we let's take a look over here quick. So Machine Good stuff has 1 tournament win, has top 4 twice, top 8 3 times. Like, it's doing okay. Not doing anything like too crazy. Metarian is just so fun to play. I love playing it. That's the big issue, is we need to nerf Metarian in a way that doesn't murder it. We still want it to be a tier 3 deck. I think that would be fair. Nerf it enough, it drops to tier 3. Still playable, still going to top, still can win tournaments. Isn't the best deck by 20 miles anymore. I think if we can just hit it a bit so that it just drops. We don't want to hit it so it's like down here, right? Down in the dumps with all the crap. But like here, this is fine. But I mean, everything would bump up, so it would probably be more like here, something like this. This would be fine for Metarian. The problem is people either don't want it touched at all because they like playing their tier 0 deck, or they want it murdered into the oblivion so no one can play it anymore. And that's like the two sides of the coin we have as like the most vocal players right now. On top of that, both Void Aces can be over both Cyber Aces. Only thing that doesn't is Golem. Yeah, but that also doesn't matter. Like, Cyber Dragon has so much value, they can just get all of their shit back whenever they want. The deck is still very, very aggressive. I really don't think that just, like, plus 600 attack is a big deal, and that everyone seems to make out that it is. I've seen so many people being like, Dark Galaxy is going to be the best deck because all the best decks right now are light, and you get 600 extra attack on your boss monster. It's like, whoop-de-doo. 600 extra attack is not going to realistically do a ton. It's going to help. It's not going to be bad. I'd rather have 600 attack than nothing. It's not suddenly going to hard counter all the light decks. That's just not how that works. It could just be that limit 3 or their fusions and ban. I mean, I'm not going to get like super into how we would hit this. But right now, as things are right now, I would say this is a relatively good representation of the meta. I think some people would bump dragons down a bit, and I think that's fair. Like, this is like probably fine. You could probably move these around as well. Is that Terranigma? Hey, what's up? It only hard counters if it gets an OP skill. I mean, basically. 4400 attack Requiem with piercing. Ooh, yeah, that Ursus. Now that seems a lot better, doesn't it? That seems a lot better. Especially if your opponent has defense mode, right? Like if they have like a vanilla in defense and you just get to like make a 4400 piercer. That's pretty scary. Swap the 2 dragons. I mean, possibly. I mean, let's take a look at the tournament results again. So, Dragon Fusion is all the way down here. Yeah, I think that's a fair. No, I think this is fair. Now, you could even maybe say this, to be honest, but I think we're going to leave it down here for now. I think this is a fair representation of what it is like right now. So, first things first, ants. Where do ants go, everyone? Where do we think ants are going to be? Oh, man. I think it's quite safe to say ants are going to be somewhere like here. In fact, is that too fair? Do we need, like, another... I'll tell you what, we'll put these all in one tier for now, just to make things easier for us. We know those 3 are the best decks. We're going to bump everything up just to make things so we don't have to have, like, a ridiculously big tier list. This is probably going to go down here in garbage. Okay. So we're going to have it like this for now. I actually think ants can win. They can win games. It's not like, oh, this deck is so bad it could never win anything. I just think they have to jump through so many hoops. Sidra tier 2, everything else tier 3. I mean, I just don't want to have a map like we understand this is tier 1, 2, 3, this is like tier 4, this is tier 5. That's fine. That's fine. Like this isn't an accurate tier list. We're just trying to place where the new cards are going for now. We'll come back and put more stuff in a minute. Just visually, this is how we're having things for now. Void can easily get back Illusion and Requiem out immediately. If piercing easily, and they've got a skill that gives piercings now for easily piercing. But again, we'll see when we actually get our hands on the cards. But you got to remember as well, piercing matters a lot less against a deck that has high defense monsters. Cyber Dragon is one of those decks. Actually, Psychics tier 2 as well. What, the old Psychics? Nah, mate, nah. Are we getting the Ant Mirror Force? No, we are not. So next up, we have Worms. So we're going to replace this, because I don't think we need this anymore. We'll get rid of that. So, where do we think Worms are going to be, guys? I think there's no avoiding it, is there? We're just going to have to make more. Because when we get to these, like, newer decks, we're going to need, like, places for them. Alright, let's put these back. Okay, where do we think Worms are going? I actually think, for me, Worms are going to go tier 3. I think they have the potential. I think they have a lot going for them. I think they could be on par with Cyber Dragon. Tier 2 with higher placement potential. Oh, you think they could be as good as the Light Galaxy? We can play insects now, but still no Gokiball. Feels bad. Ants are already bad, and they don't even get their best card. What a scam. Exactly. Exactly. The issue of Worm is going to be too much luck. I don't think you need too much luck, realistically. I mean, it's one of those things. Every single deck on here needs some sort of luck, right? None of these decks have a starter that gets them into full combo. None of them get to do absolutely everything they need. Every single one of these decks still needs to like find specific combo pieces. I don't think the Worm deck is much different, realistically. Tier 3 but under Sidra. See, this is what I thought as well. Like, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm quite happy for this to jump up, like, when it starts performing. But I think for my prediction, I'd put it here. Worms don't look like they have a good Light Galaxy matchup because of poor stat lines. That is always going to be the other downside. Their bosses have great stat lines, but it's like, how often are you going to get the bosses out, right? Worms can easily compete with Cyber Dragons and take on Galaxy. Well, it's like Shari was saying. A lot of the Worms have very low defense, which means Galaxy could just OTK Worms very easily. So, like... Now, we're normal candy. Yeah, just normal candy. Let's talk about the next one. So this is Old Worms. Old Worms will probably be like here-ish. Like this is like the, maximum Worms. We don't need to talk about that too much. New Psychics. Where's New Psychics going? Worms don't have piercing either, so they rely on fusion to get big damage. I mean, to get any damage, really. Where do we think this little girl is going to go? I think... something like that is my prediction. I think this is noticeably going to be a tier worse than these. Again, I'm happy to be wrong. I'm happy for them to overperform. I think with what we've seen, with the new skill, this is what I'm looking at the moment. Candy Live is now in the game. Still not enough for Blue Eyes for me to play Duel Links again. I mean, it's a cool card. I feel threatened. I mean, again, if you make the deck work badge, if you enter a tournament, you win the tournament, or better yet, you sponsor like Yaden to win a tournament, then I'm quite happy for it to go higher. Finally able to catch a morning stream again. Let's go. Welcome on in, JD Scrub. You've caught us. We just finished talking about all the new leaks, the new cards, the new mechanic. And now we're predicting where we think the meta is going to be with all the new stuff. Now, I wonder what's the best deck for Goha Rush. Probably. So what I would recommend, personally, for Goha Rush, Light Galaxy. Light Galaxy is basically brain dead. The only way you mess up playing Light Galaxy is if you, like, throw away your secret orders. Or, like, you don't use Meteor Charge correctly. Like, you always want to flip something up. You always want to attack over a different monster, right? I feel like this deck is very easy. The Light Galaxy deck. It's very good. It's very fast. I don't think you're going to burn out playing this deck. I think you could probably sit there and play, like, 200 games back to back to back with the Light Galaxy deck and still mentally be okay. Again, very quick games. If you're going to lose, you're going to lose relatively quick. If you're going to win, you're going to win relatively quick. That's my opinion. If you're a bit more, you want to have a much higher like win percent, I suppose, but you want longer games, Metarian is probably going to be a pick. Any deck that has a good matchup into Sidra, especially early on. I think when you hit top 100, Sidra will probably fall off a little bit. But Sidra actually has an okay matchup into Galaxy, so if you're in the very, very early stages and you're against a lot of Sidra, maybe Galaxy is not the best way to go. But it depends. It's really going to depend on what like the meta looks like in it. But my immediately go-to would be, like Galaxy would be like the long haul. I still don't like Galaxy. I mean, that's absolutely fair enough. Tomato, when's the last time you seen me do tournaments? Well, just do it more often, Badge. What do you want me to say? I wonder how Dark Galaxy would do against Dark Galaxy. You can't really throw away your secret orders. You absolutely can throw away your secret orders. I do not know why we are playing different video games, Darth Victor, but you absolutely can. I have seen players throw away their secret orders. Is absolutely something that can and will happen, especially for worse players. Agreed. Oh wow, do you think you could have thought that Secret Order would break the game when it already broke the game once? I mean, it's one of those things. It came out, and I was like, there's no way they're going to put Secret Order in. If they do, it'll be like heavily limited. And it was just limit 3, and it was like, this is insane. I know they wanted to make Light Galaxy playable, as it was the new Go Rush thing, but like, I suppose, really, it's not the end of the world. I still don't like Light Galaxy. The only deck on that list which I can't play because of the cards I'm missing. Guess I go Sidra because I know the deck and own the cards. The one thing I would say about Sidra has a relatively weak matchup into Metarian. Metarian kind of farms that deck, and Sidra also is kind of weak to itself, as weird as that sounds. Like, a lot of the Sidra cards are really good against Sidra. So, I don't know if there's even a reason to have this. Realistically, you're not playing one without the other, so we're just going to have Ants be the deck. Next up, we have Dark Galaxy. Where do we think Dark Galaxy is going to go? Dark Galaxy is hard to place. Because the skill, potentially, is a +1 every turn. The skill can get you back a body that can be normal summoned and tributed off. The skill most of the time is going to get you probably a Requiem or the guy that you tribute to get piercing, Star Trancer. Dark Galaxy does have potential, especially because they have Globule. Globule, letting them get out their guys cheaper, is always going to be really, really nice. Being able to put cards back in your deck after you're milling an absolute crap ton from the skill is also really, really nice. You should have relatively easy access to piercing. What's the downside of this deck? If we don't find Star Trancer, the deck doesn't actually do anything. Because if you don't have that piercing, you're not doing anything, realistically. It's a hard one to place. It's a very hard one to place. Piercing the Aces, wondering how they get the piercing. Tier 3. No idea about the placement though. Dark Galaxy is the toy you don't want to play with. You don't want to play with to your little brother while playing with the good toy like Galaxy. I will say, Light Galaxy is almost always still just going to be better than Dark Galaxy, because Light Galaxy has the ability to kill your opponent in basically 2 turns. A lot of the time, you will be ending the game on turn 3 playing Light Galaxy, and if you're able to do that, nothing keeps up with that, right? If you win the game on turn 3, typically you'll kill Metarian before they get set up unless they've drawn very, very well. Just having that ability, just being able to search the secret orders while setting up the graveyard, and having easy access to search the Meteor Charge, makes this deck unbelievably powerful. It's why it's a little bit frustrating, because a lot of the time when you build a deck, you have to build it around, okay, but what if my opponent just drops Secret Order, summons out 2 big guys, gets piercing, changes my guys to attack, and runs over me immediately, and I go down to 200 life points? That sucks. That's just the way the game is right now. Tier 4 Dark Galaxy, in my opinion, seems clunky with so many high levels. Apart from the big toys, bricking on high levels is a downside. Yeah, you're not wrong. I think I'm going to put them top of tier 4 for now. I'm happy to be wrong. I think this deck has a lot of potential, but until I actually play with the cards, it is hard to judge. It really is hard to judge. Mid tier 3. So you think it will be above Krusty Camper gifting 5 subscriptions once again. Hello, Krusty Camper. Hope you're having a lovely day. And once again, thank you so much for the subscriptions. You really do keep this channel going, don't you? So who received those subs? We got Mars Xe, we got Sunvar, we got Paris, we got Annie Baba, and we got Package Coin, all with the gifted subs.
Krusty Camper gifted
You'll play like
5
Yami in terms of consistency? I mean, potentially. I'm ill? No, don't be ill, Krusty. What are you doing? I guess if you're ill, your probably face is getting a bit crusty at this point. 5? Just want it in 5? Or 5 gifted? Is that what we're going for, Globe? Holy! But yeah, I hope you're having a good time apart from being ill, Krusty Camper. I know Yu-Gi-Oh's not really your forte. I know you've dabbled, but I know that Rush Duel is not your biggest priority. Compete with the higher ones, somewhat do against Worm, Summon against Tier 3. The thing is, no one has played the actual Dark Galaxy deck as it is meant to be played against meta. No one has. The only way you will have done so is if you load up Dueling Book and you play in there with someone who's like, you know, gentlemansing into doing the skills, right? Other than that, we just don't know exactly how it's going to play out. Because, like, again, this deck can kill you out of nowhere. This deck can kill you out of nowhere. That's just how those decks work. That's why it's, like, frustrating. Does Secret Order Worms warrant being its own deck on the tier list? I think we're going to wait. We're going to wait and see how it does. I'm still not convinced it's going to work. It's just something I want to test out. I'm really excited about. Back in my day, Dark Magician and Blue Eyes were as OP as it got. I mean, Blue Eyes is making a bit of a comeback now, to be fair. It's doing all right. Is that Dark Tuner in the chat? Hello, hello. Welcome on in. Tomato, load up Dueling Book against me right now. No! I haven't played a Dueling Book in so long, and I have no interest in going back. Yeah, we don't have any cards like Negate in the game already. We don't have cards like Negate Attack in the game already. What was that? What was that in reference to? Did I miss something there? I think I'm missing some context. But the next deck is the Amnesia deck. I think garbage. I don't think the Amnesia deck's going to be good. Looking at the skill, it looks bad. Looking at the cards that you're allowed to play when using the skill, it looks bad. I don't expect it to do anything. I would be surprised if this did anything. I'm going to put it that way. Now, I've been playing with someone on Dueling Book for Rush, and that is absolutely fine, Badge. I don't have any interest in that. If I'm going to play the OCG, I would rather play on EDO, and if I wanted to test, I probably just wouldn't. I'd probably just wait the 2 days, right? Amnesia living up to its name, already being forgotten about. That's a good one, Manicus. That is a good one. What does Amnesia do? Well, good thing we have this. So, place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. Special summon 2 level 6 or lower Galaxy-type normal monsters from your graveyard face up to your field. You can only tap with Galaxy monsters, and it's level 6. It's not great. If we use the skill, we can boost its attack by 600, so it becomes 22, and we can boost our normal monster, and the biggest one is going to be Ganzel, who will go up to 27. So it's kind of whatever. I'll eat my sock if Amnesia works. Alright, somebody clip that. Well, I don't need to clip it. We'll grab... We're going to grab this, and we're going to chuck it into the team chat, just so that everyone can remember that Badge has to eat his own sock. I'm going to chuck it in. I've got to catch up with all this chat. Okay. I need that on record. Don't make me make you eat that sock. Wow, I wonder... Wow, I actually remember correctly. Why is the worm spell limit 1? It's not even that broken. I mean... Why? Why indeed? Why indeed? Great, thanks for the explanation. What does Amnesia do? I forgot. Haha! Clipped and shipped. Terror going insane over why limit works, but the idea of Amnesia to tribute the monsters you summon. Yeah, but even that's like so many hoops to jump through. Hey, we got a hype train success. We got a hype chest. I don't even know what that means. Reward button masher mode. Right. Thanks for letting me know, Twitch, that we now have a button masher mode. Twitch is such a strange platform sometimes, you know. But the idea of Amnesia distribute monsters, if we had a skill 5 in Elysium and Reverie deck could be decent. Yeah, it could be, which is a shame we don't. Better hope Amnesia doesn't work. Not broken. 3 level broken. We went from ant puns to amnesia puns in less than 24 hours. Yes, I am allowed to go insane since I actually play Rush OCG. Like, come on Secret Order Limit 3, but no worms are not allowed to play the field spell multiple times. We still don't have Beast Gear World, mate. As an OCG player, why don't we have Beast Gear World? It's like, what is going on? I swear, whatever bullshit restriction of only special summon 1 level 7 per duel and lets you summon that work, because yes. All right, let's get on to the decks. Let's get on to the decks, Kai. So we have Thunders. Do we think Thunder is going to keep up with any of these decks? I don't think it's here. But I also don't think it's here. Bottom of tier 4? You legit... So, just out of curiosity... So, Ursus, you think this Thunder deck is going to be better than the Worm deck that's come second place and topped a few times? The Psychic deck that's won 2 tournaments recently? The Fusion deck that's only doing bad because its way to get piercing is kind of bad and lots of people have high defense monsters. Old Reliable. And the Mono Special. Tier 5, my bad. I was going to say. I think that's fine. This is basically the same place, right? We maybe don't even need the potential tier, but like... I think that's fine. Like, it might be better than Mutton, I don't know, but it can stay there. There's new Thunder support? Yes, there is, Globe. Do the new cards work with the skill? Because the skill outs the fusions. Do the new cards work with the skill? I mean, they're just... I have to look this up now. Rush. Thunder. So, the only monsters in your deck are Thunder, so that's fine. And it's normal or special summon a 7 or higher monster. So they just have to have 1600 or less defense. Oh, okay. Less defense. How are we looking? 18! 24, no! So the fusion monsters themselves will not trigger the skill. That's what we're learning here. Gotta go eat my pizza. Have fun, guys. Have fun eating your pizza. Terranigma. I can be nice and say bottom, second bottom tier 5. Thunder has easy access to Pierce, so it has a flaw of how good it can be. I don't know about easy access. It definitely has access. Yeah, basically what Ursus said. That skill is going to get changed, Lamau. I mean, it very well might do. Well, the other thing is these are... So, I don't even know if we'd play Zap Zap or Showering Seaferno. I think you'd probably just play Poseidon. Because then you don't have to change much. You just kind of slip in Fusion. But then it's like, is it even worth playing Poseidon? I don't know. I don't know. We'll put it here for now. Elysium, we haven't got a skill, so not really relevant. And that's it. That's it. That's all of the new decks. At the very least, only one deck's down here. Well, I guess we also have these two, but they don't count. We're getting, what, 1, 2, 3 decks that look like they should have some sort of meta impact. Even if it's not quite the meta impact we want to see. Realistically, I don't see these decks, like, falling off for a very long time. So, unless they get hit with the nerf hammer, these two are probably going to still be the strongest decks for a bit. I would really like it if these three did perform very well, though, and exceeded expectations. Like, if they could, like, jump up here, that would be fantastic. We'll have to wait and see what actually happens, though. But, with that, we're 5 minutes early, but that's fine. It's only 5 minutes. We've come to the end of the stream, guys. It was just yapping for 3 solid hours. Who would have thought that in a tomato sauce stream, we would play no card games and we would just talk. So, box skip. It depends what you want. If you want to play one of the new archetypes, go into this box. If you want to play the new archetypes in the future, probably still go into this box. You're going to need the Dark Galaxy stuff that's here when the next lot of Dark Galaxy stuff comes out, unless they give it like a deck build or some sort of reprint box. So it's that sort of thing. Is that Dr. Alex in the chat? The classic. Yeah, we never actually play card games here. Like, playing card games is for nerds, guys. Come on. We instead do meta-analysis. We look at spreadsheets. You know, we do the real cool shit here. Not that nerd playing card game shit. But we will be back on Thursday with the return, the grand return of the Angel Cup, which we will be playing something new, whether or not that's Dark Galaxy, whether or not that's going to be Worms, or, I mean, it could be Psychic. It's probably not going to be anything else. It'll probably be one of those three. It's the new box day, so we will be playing one of the new decks. We probably won't be playing any of the weaker stuff, but we'll probably be playing one of those. Because, again, worst case scenario, we scrub out, and then we get to commentate and watch the rest of it and see what performs well in the new environment. And again, don't forget, the first week or so, the results won't matter very much because it's first week. People are still learning. People are still mass spamming the new decks, so it's not going to be as... the information isn't going to be as reliable during the first week. That's just the way it always goes. Thanks, I was late. The stock message is going... the sock message is going to haunt me someday in the future. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Excel function tier list when. I mean, but, like we were saying, we'll be back again on Thursday. We will be starting an hour earlier on Thursday because Japan still hasn't adjusted their clocks yet, and the tournament for them starts an hour earlier than we usually start stream, so we will be starting the stream an hour earlier on Thursday. But, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.